Happy Monday. Welcome back to Retake the Week. It's been a pretty chaotic sort of 7 days, not just because there were big matches, big moves or anything like that, just because there were a shit ton of matches. Just point blank, there was so much CS to watch, to follow. We actually had a pretty tough time, I think, keeping up with it all. Between Birch Cup, Draculand, the start of Pro League, it was a lot to take in, it was a lot to process, but don't worry, we're going to help you out. We're going to get into the key storylines, the key players, the key winners and losers, all that good stuff, as we always do. Plus, we're going to have the usual segments, the Eternal Shuffle, Prospect of the Week, Cock of the Week, all the good stuff. So yeah, we're going to get into that in a second. Firstly, we've got to thank the people who make this show so awesome, and those are the members. The members who support my channel directly, allow me to do things like put this onto Spotify and not have it be a complete waste of time and money. Spotify listeners, remember to rate if you do actually listen on Spotify. There's about 90 to 100 of you every week who actually do use Spotify. So yeah, leave us a review, that's appreciated. But yeah, members get access to the King's Court interviews, all of them, not just the one a year I decide to put out publicly. The BTS, the live sort of VODs of everything I do, the right to vote, and a couple other perks every now and then. But yeah, membership, the best way to support the channel. Quack, anything to promote this week?
No. This week, again, is a bit of a head down, do my thing week, is what it's been. We have some fun stuff coming up. There's the Swedish Cup is happening in November, and we have some preparatory stuff for that. Or I have a little project for that, so it's not coming this week, but it's coming relatively soon. So I'm, yeah, we're gonna. It's gonna be fun. You'll know about it. And I think like a lot of people listening, it sounds like it's boring in Swedish. I think a lot of you might genuinely be interested. So stay tuned for that. No, it's been okay. In Sweden, there's two. I have a new camera angle, by the way. It looks weird. In Sweden, there's this corporate league, which is like I talked about this last season in spring, where we had different companies can do this as it's like a kind of retreat kind of thing, where you get to play CS games as a little bit of an after work kind of thing. And Fragbite, we are in it, and we are very good, and we play. Yeah, we started the season last week. There's actually 2 leagues this time, and we're playing in both of them. We are the only company in Sweden which is playing in both of the leagues, and we are giving it 100%. You are going to see me play a LAN playoff game this fall, because I am the best Counter-Strike player in Sweden at the moment, who is currently not a professional.
Well, a lot of things that were and weren't true in that little bit of promo for Quack. I'll let you use your intuition to figure out which is which. But yes,
I'll put the stream on Twitter later today, because we have an official tonight at 8 p.m. test. And if you want to see how good we really are, yeah, watch there.
I recommend watching with your eyes closed. But yes, if you want to enjoy that. But what matters is Quack confirmed Corpo Shill playing in the corporate leagues. God, must be nice for some of us. Not everyone has that liberty, that privilege, that freedom. Let's get into the
You're
real
unemployed.
News. Yes, exactly. I'm not a corporate shill because I'm unemployed. Let's start.
That is
with
the true, yeah,
the real
true
important
anti-capitalist
event
there
of the weekend. Yes, me famously an ANCAP as well.
So ANCAP, you don't have a job.
Let's get into it.
Give us money. Give us money for the show.
Draculand happened this weekend. And we're going to start with a very simple topic, very simple question. Who are the losers? And obviously we do want to emphasize the biggest losers. People who lost are losers. That's just how competition works. But Quack, for you, who are the real losers of this event? Like, who really let themselves down, let you down, let their family down? Who came out of this really with their heads down?
Look, I think Dracula, not a lot of people had that much to gain, and I think those that did all right. Like, they did well enough where they had a lot. They got what they wanted. I think my biggest disappointment, honestly, is Metasport. I cannot in good conscience say that players like Plopsky, Melo9, and major grand finalist Isak, at the very least, should make work of Nexus in a LAN event like this. recent form, you would honestly say no. It's not a massive upset that Nexus beats Medisport. It's number 99 versus 96. But the caliber of players that are on this team should not go out this early in Dracula, and that was really disappointing for me. Which is also why I very quickly forgot about this event when they came out, when they ended up being last. Because it's not that important for the major. It was basically only important to OG. And they managed to get it done. They managed to win. I think Ecstatic can be a little bit disappointed because they could have. I feel like Ecstatic could have gotten a lot more out of this. They could very well have been a grand finalist team, but they weren't. And that Zero Tenacity loss is disappointing. And honestly, FlyQuest as well. Like, on paper, I feel like FlyQuest should be a grand finalist team here as well, considering they play Tier 1 as often, considering they have players like JKS, and even some upshoots like Vexite, Netic, and Regali as well. But I also can't say I'm all that surprised, because they get inflated by the fact that they play so much in Tier 1. Like, where people hold FlyQuest, I think gets inflated because they play Tier 1, and they do that because of the region, not because they're good. So, yeah. It's me here and there. I think those three are going to be my biggest losers. I can't really pick out anyone else. Medisport for sure. Medisport for sure are honestly, I think maybe the only team in this entire event who I think crashed out, because everybody else was either supposed to be more or less last, like you're talking about whoever Hyper Spirit are, this mix, and even AM, like, I think they're fine, but I don't think they should win more than one game. So, and Medisport are probably the only ones I think crashed out proper, which is a shame. It's a real shame.
Yeah, so I'm just going to go through these three you've chosen, just briefly, then maybe see if there's anything else that stands out to me. But look, let's begin on Medisport's front. They are perhaps the most hard done by of last place teams at this event. As much as I think it is a stunning set of losses, you shouldn't expect a team like Medisport to lose these games. When you compare them to Mix, Hyperspirit, and Mana, obviously they stand out like a sore thumb in terms of the last place teams. However, they played in their opening matchup Nexus, who are higher ranked than them by VRS, barely lower ranked than them by HLTV ranking. Like, this is a pretty much like even matchup on current form. So that's as your opening is not ideal. And then you play against a top 30 team in the world in FlyQuest, who, yes, are overrated at times due to the fact they play Tier 1 play, but when they play Tier 1 play, they sometimes win. Like, they're not a team who are just at Tier 1, get battered and sent home. They're not quite the charity invite that Rooster is at Pro League. You know what I mean? They're not just there because, the poor, sickly, dying child, we need to give it something. They do actually outperform a lot of teams who are Tier 2 EU and sometimes get a chance. Like, they've beaten Bates in real events. They've had real wins. So it's, again, if you are the 90-something team in the world who've been disappointing all season, the fact that you went out in last place, losing to Nexus and FlyQuest, whatever. It's really not that big a deal for me. So I don't think there could be biggest losers. I guess for you, you're most invested in them emotionally. But for me, I'm kind of not that shocked that I was disappointed by Lumen, Isak, fucking Jacquinho. Like, this is a team that's just been a problem. They've just not been very good. So I'm completely unbothered. Like, yeah, you lost to teams on your level or better. That should be expected. That should not be, that big of a shock to anyone.
Well, yes, and that's sort of what I mean. Recent form, this is fine. But if you look at every other last place Finnish team here, and you look at who is on these
teams, look at who those teams lost to. Like, they didn't play. Mana went out to Gen 1. Hyperspirit went out to Big Academy. Mix went out to AM. Like, give any of these matchups to Medisport. We're talking about them in the next stage. Like, they're not 13th to 16th, so I wouldn't be that. Like, you wouldn't be that alarmed to see them at this position. It's just the matchups that create this, I think, fog.
The thing is, Medisport have been disappointing all year, but they also haven't really played LAN whatsoever. And when you have these players, that's where I expect Medisport to not be the 90th worst best team in the world. I expect them to be 60th or 50th at minimum, because they have players with extensive LAN experience. The only player you can really pin on as like, oh, maybe he hasn't played a lot of LAN. You can't even really pin on Male09 because he is just good, and he's been good on LAN. Lumen is the only guy you can really pin that on. And yeah, he plays like shit on LAN, unfortunately. But
to be fair,
also
he plays on shit online
like
most
shit
of the time too.
Yeah, but then also Plopsky wasn't that good. Isak wasn't that good. Jacquinho was abysmal, and that's like those players I expect to do better on LAN because they have that experience. They've been around for ages, and most of the time in previous years, Medisport and like all the Swedish teams at their tier, would play a lot of LAN. But Medisport have just completely been dodging everything. Their first LAN of the year was the major. Their second was glitched, which was a throwaway because the team was dead. And this is basically the only, like, aside from the major, which is like, it's LAN, but it's not a tier 2 LAN. It's not LAN in the same sense as Draculan is. This was their first LAN where they should have gone in with good expectations. And like, they shouldn't be the 90th worst team when they're playing in Draculan is sort of the thing that I'm thinking about. The others I can absolutely get. Like, whoever Mana are, I can absolutely believe Gamezilla and his crew kind of drop out in a LAN event like this. I don't think they've ever not dropped out in a LAN event like this. We're talking about Raga and Kyo Cardao as well. It's like, yeah, those players usually can't hold their own on LANs like these, and they couldn't do it here either. But then it's like, Medisport, should Plopsky be able to beat Nexus on LAN? 100%. Plopsky should absolutely smoke Nexus on LAN. That's my feeling. And that's why I'm disappointed.
Rated. Like, he was the best player on the team in the game.
Look, yeah, that I'll give him credit for. But they should win it. And they should. It's not just Plopsky. It's like, where the hell is Isak? Even Jaquinho.
He's got Lumen on his team. At the end of the day, they still have Lumen. they do. Still got a $4,750 really decoy. Like, that's going to limit your success rate.
Yeah. That's sort of why I feel like it's disappointing. Is because on LAN, especially, I would absolutely say that Medisport, considering they go for these experienced players, they like to pick players from above and put them at a tier below. These are the events where they should really target that, and they should their target should be maybe not winning the event, winning a game against a decent opponent. Even FlyQuest, I'll give it, like, FlyQuest they're fine, they're good, they have talented players, they absolutely destroyed Medisport, and yeah, 90 versus 30, that's gonna happen. They shouldn't destroy Medisport when you're looking like pound for pound, player for player. I think Medisport should absolutely have a chance there, and they did not whatsoever. And that's a big disappointment. And it's also worrying because I know who Medisport are and what they sort of go for. The kind of players and the moves they want to make, the moves they made in the past, and the rationale behind those moves. This is the event they made those moves for. That's the thing. This is the kind of event that all of their roster was built to perform in these events, and they don't. That's what I think is really disappointing. And it's you could say that about a bunch of other teams as well. AM have experienced players as well, like Keto and Altex, and GXX even are pretty tenured in LAN events like these. But they haven't been to the project isn't built to perform in the same way. It's built for playtime. They also, I'll be honest, I don't think they're as good pound for pound as some of the Medisport players. And they also don't have anywhere near as much investment behind them. Like, Medisport should do much better here. So for me, that's very disappointing.
Medisport mix in the lower bracket, I think they have the same result as AM. That's just my problem with it. That's just why I'm not as ferociously disappointed, because I've been disappointed with Medisport for about a year and a bit because of all the moves they made. So that's just where I'm at with it. Not bothered. Let's move on to another team though, because otherwise I think we can spend half an hour on Medisport, which is not worth it. FlyQuest. Yeah, that's one of the three you mentioned, if I'm not going crazy.
Yeah.
This is... the fact that they couldn't get a star performance out of anyone to just take a second map off Gen 1. Gen 1. Come on, guys. Gen 1. It's a damn shame. It really is. It really is. And, like, I didn't really like what I saw when this FlyQuest team this Gen 1 team came together. But the fact that they were able to come to this event and, like, basically give themselves a bunch of fake hype, beating a very disappointing FlyQuest side. Yeah, it's gonna work in a weird way. It's gonna have some weird ripple effects. FlyQuest should be at this event grand finalists. Anything less is disappointing, right? There's no other option for me. Like, if you are supposed to be number 2 team in Asia, number 3 team in Asia, or in that conversation, number 3, definitely worse than Tyloo, but it's supposed to be in that sort of debate, in that sort of league. You can't come to an EU LAN where there's only one team higher rated than you. There's a bunch of teams who've been on the downfall, like really hard downslides. Like, Ecstatic are sliding way out of the realms of contention in terms of being top 20-ish EU, trying to make the major. These are really weak teams. So the fact that you can take a loss to a freshly assembled mix of French players that includes a literal granddad and rejects. I think this is a slap in the face to FlyQuest. Like, this is a genuinely horrific result. Not much else to it. I mean, the fact that they even lost a map to Sinners, who have been in pretty weak form of their own. Like, their experiment has been very hit or miss in terms of the, you know, replacing players with, I guess, international players. You know, just not staying Czechoslovak, bringing in Kisarek and Stress on. Like, this is a team that's made some big changes, has been boom or bust, but a lot of bust. The fact that you dropped a map to them, not great. Yeah, and then they lost to Gen 1, inexcusable. Your final choice was Ecstatic, was it not?
Yeah, it's a minor disappointment. It's if I have to pick anybody, they end up there because everybody else, I think, overperformed expectations or were more or less par for the course. So yeah.
So for me, Ecstatic, look, they're finishing their official spot and is 5th, 6th. I always have to look it up to see what the hell actually everything means in terms of where you got eliminated in these kinds of brackets. But 5th, 6th is their official finish. I do think they should be slightly disappointed. I mean, the fact that there's Basement Boys, Zero Tenacity above you, yeah, not great. For me, this was an event where they are freshly testing a change. Like, they just made that shift away from Christu, away from one of the most disappointing AWPers to have ever nearly made the major this season. Like, you know, he was that close to being in the major this year. With Acor, as I put it on Twitter, the Danish recycling incentives are going way too ham. Like, please, guys, you can do something new. You don't have to reuse. For them, this was supposed to be like Acor, smash some people, look great, look hype, everyone's super excited for us. And he managed it once. When they played Reason Gaming, the Polish team with Fnatic, Frontsider, Antivirus, accused of cheating, I believe, at one point by ENCE, I think, some of those players, or at least maybe the entire team.
The entire team, yeah.
The entire team, yeah. He absolutely obliterates them on Ancient. That's supposed to be kind of what we expected to get out of it. Like, he should smash all the competition, or at least play really well. They may not necessarily win the event, but they're supposed to go deep off the back of a really strong AWP. Against OG, he's sub 1.0. They go into the lower bracket against Zero Tenacity, he's sub 0.8. Like, for me, Zero Tenacity should be the team that he farms the easiest of all the legit European sides. Like, he should really smash those guys. Instead, struggles massively. For Ecstatic, you come out of this going, we've not really shifted the needle in our favor. Like, we're not all of a sudden a promising side. We may have even completely, you know, botched our chances to make the major off the back of this. Just not a great place to be. They weren't in a great spot before, hence why they made the change. But Acor doesn't even look that rampant, that dominant. He looks like the old Acor, you know, up, down, but never stably where you want him to be. And overall, well, not even the best Danish AWPer at this event. You can get that specific. Not even the best Danish AWPer at this event. Not even the second best Danish speaking AWPer at this event. That's just not where Ecstatic wanted to be. He still ends up being the highest rated player of the event for them, and that's all off of that absolute smashing of Reason. Take the Reason map down by even like a 0.5, like just that Ancient from like a 2.8 to a 2.3 or whatever the fuck he did, and all of a sudden he's like just flat mid. But yeah, had that one map. It's not a great spot for Ecstatic. Not the biggest disappointment overall, but
no,
yeah, just not a great spot for them.
Ecstatic were moving upwards, and I feel like losing to Zero Tenacity, who you have a 4-1 record against prior to this, is a disappointment. It is an upset as well. But yeah, I think the rationale behind the Acor move is that you were hoping for somebody with a higher floor, which I can see in principle. It's just the fact he doesn't have that. Like, he
really doesn't. Against Zero Tenacity, he showed us exactly why he doesn't have that. Like, he just cannot. Just cannot do it.
Yeah, and then also like so many things in team building, and especially when you have tier 2 Danish teams where over the course of a 2-year period, 30 players have probably all played with each other in some constellation. So you sort of get this where like you go off vibes and you go off it felt good playing with Acor, and you get that sort of rationale behind a lot of these moves as well. In theory, it's not really working. I think on the FlyQuest point as well, the fact that they lose Dust 2 against Gen 1 in particular, which is their best map. It's FlyQuest's best map overall. It's the one they play the most. especially in the fall season, and it's the one they win the most at. To lose Dust 2 against Gen 1 is extra disappointing. I get that, in some of these series you play Overpass and you lose. This event was literally the first time FlyQuest played Overpass since it got reintroduced. They won one, they lost one. I'll see that. I don't know why the fuck you put that. You even pick that, or you even allow that in the veto, because they lose that to Gen 1 as well. But losing Dust 2 is a bit of that's a big shame for them. Yeah, hey, I can't really
clearly, Chucky, Brooksy, too much to handle. How could they ever match up with such legends of the Counter-Strike scene?
Yeah, but I can't really. It's hard to pick failures at this event, because I think everybody who was supposed to go last place ended up in last place. Aside from Medisport, they were not supposed to be there, or either performed much better than they were supposed to be. Which you have the Basement Boys, you have these guys. So it's hard to pick. It's hard to pick failures. I could pick a lot more for Birch, but we'll
get to that.
We're going to get to that. Yeah.
But first, just a quick question, because Passion USA, they've been a topic of debate, a topic of discourse. Mm-hmm. Are you a believer? Does this shift anything for you? We've seen them play a couple of events now, and for me, I do have some thoughts in terms of what I've seen from them. This event, they finished second, losing that grand final to OG. I mean, losing to Basement Boys in the upper bracket, which was just... It's one of the crazier fluke runs we've seen at any event. This Basement Boys run, where the hell did this come from? Is Owner secretly that great of an IGL? Who knows, but it was funny to see them go that far. Passion U8, they lose the final. The fact they even made it there, they beat some solid enough teams by this event standards. What's your takeaway? Do you have any further, just any more belief than you did before in this Passion USA project?
I think, I think they still... The Basement Boys loss is disappointing, but they make up for it in the way they beat them later on to end their event run entirely. Lose the opener. A lot of these... they play a lot of 3-mappers, this Passion UA team do, but they made it work 13-3, 13-5 to finish that series is a strong enough finish where sort of makes up for the initial loss against them. Double wins against Zero Tenacity, they're very close. All 5 maps they're playing against Zero Tenacity are super close. But they managed to win both series, and that's solid. Take a map off of OG as well, where it's you sort of show they are a very strong train team. This team have always been super strong on train since we got it back all year. And they managed to destroy OG on train. Good job. That's the sort of strength. They showed some strengths here. And that's why I do sort of believe in them, where I think they've put in a lot of reps already. It feels like this change happened just the other week, but they've already played. We're a month in. They've already played 3 events. All of them have been on LAN. All of them have been in Europe. All of them have been against European opposition. We have yes, they open up with 9 and Monty losing out there. That's a shame. Play a tier 1 event and you play some narrow losses. You beat Gentle Mates there as well. Then you move into this event and you have a lot of teams that you should really pick off. And it's close, but you make it happen, and that I think is positive for them. So I think for sure there's stuff they can improve on, but I feel like they are improving event to event. So I do have some belief here.
Okay, good. We're not going to be in too much disagreement here, because the same way I said Ecstatic, for their event, they need to see A core be dominant, A core be awesome. For me, the entire question surrounding the project of Passion USA is, can Grim play with another Star Rifle and be Grim? Be Grim who's impactful, dominating. Can he share a little bit of that spotlight with someone and still be a Star Rifle? And across this event, he comes out with crazy good numbers. He's the second highest rated player at the event, tied with Altex. He does a really good job of asserting himself. He has that absolutely bonkers train against OG. But generally, if you look event by map by map, he's generally very strong at this event, just overall. So I think there's some positives there. There are some positives to be taken away from this event if you are passionate. Despite the fact you don't win this event, despite the fact you are playing Draculan and not Pro League, you still have some positives. So I do think this is a roster showing us a little more fight, a little more bite, a little more venom than they were initially, where I had a lot of concerns about the Grim Fem duo. But here, perfect. Both the highest rated players on the team, The team gets a solid performance out of a guy like Holzerk as well. You can't really be too disappointed, even if it is a second place finish. You'd have liked to have beaten OG in that sort of matchup. That's a team you want to be beating, really, because you want to return to sort of that top 10 to 15 level. If you are that core, that's where they used to be. But for now, given the way they fell off, the way they're trying to climb back up, yeah, for me, Passion UA, I'm still a believer. I still think they've got a chance to be a solid enough tier 1.5 side. Just a scrappy little roster. And yeah, we need to see Grim and Kvem. That's the duo we need to see. And yeah, we got it here. So belief, not restored, it never truly left, but reinforced, I think, by this one.
Yeah, it's looking a lot better for them, I think. And they needed these LAN wins. They gained a lot of VRS from this event still, which is good for them. They're back into the top 30 of the global ranking, basically locking their major spot, maybe even locked into stage 2, which is really good. Still have some to play. I think they still have Philadelphia to play, assuming they're still going. But for now, that's what it's looking like. And yeah, I can't have many complaints about Passion UA. I think they've done fine.
Yeah, no, that's plenty good enough. We get into now the champions of this event. OG. Now, we like this team, for various reasons. I like some of the individuals. You see Swedish flags and immediately, get stimulated.
I like them for other reasons as well.
We know the real reason. You see that blue, that yellow, and just, ooh, this team, so good. Must watch every game. But yes, they win this event. They actually play some great CS, and they are led by those two Swedes, Spook and Adam B. Spook, especially for me, clear MVP of this event.
Yes.
He plays the final against Grim, ends with a 0.01 low rated for the event. That's fine. He's the MVP of the event. Like, that's pretty comfortable for me to say, and especially considering he has, I think, I said this during the BTS or pre-show at some point. It was BTS. He has more damage in gun v gun rounds at this event than he does any other round. Like, you take full buy v half buys, full buy v ecos, lower ADR in both of those, then full buy v full buy. Didn't eco farm at all, just straight impact, straight damage, and that's been Spook's kind of just reality on OG. He's been incredibly effective no matter what they're doing. So if they're asking him to open up, they're setting him up for those openings, he's going to find the openings. Asking him to trade, asking him to close, he's going to trade, he's going to close. Spook's been fantastic. Spook was, again, amazing at Draculan. I'm really excited about him, and that really raised the question, and this is the main question of this section. Quack, what is OG's ceiling? Where do you see this team topping out with this current roster? Like, no roster moves allowed, obviously. Just what do you see the ceiling of this team being?
Well, the word I would use to describe their ceiling is Arasdosh. I feel like he is not good. And I feel like even the way it's going, it's like I still feel like he's not enough. So he is the ceiling that I think. But if I'm going to put a number on it, I could absolutely see this team competing in top 10. Like, if they manage to reach there. I don't know. I really like Nikoros. I think Nikoros has played excellent, and he keeps playing excellent. Yeah, like, he's a bit of a rifler guy, but he plays really well on it. And like, given the right opportunities, given the right development going forward, I could absolutely put them above a team like Pain. And Pain is a team who sometimes do compete up in the top 10 range. I feel like at the moment, you have teams like Astralis, who I feel like OG could beat outright on their day. And Astralis are a team inside the top 10, so I could absolutely put them up there. I could see them being like a 3D Max kind of team right now. But I think what puts them there is Arasdosh for me. Because Spook and Adam B are great. I think Spook and Adam B can stick it to anybody in the top 10. And they will do well. I think Nikoros, he doesn't peak as high as as the truly elite oppers, obviously. But I think the fact that he's really found his style with how he does play a lot of rifle, and like OG seem very comfortable with how he plays. I think that's not going to be a big hindrance either. And then Krisen is just solid and is only going to get better over time. So to put them up there with like Gamer Legion, Pain, 3D Max, I think that's where OG could end up if things keep going as they should. But then I think Ados Dodge bottoms out a bit too much for them to start breaking into like a top 5 conversation, which is like that. That seems very high. That seems very high to even talk about. But that is the next step after that level. So I feel like Ados Dodge does bottom out a bit too hard, and maybe you do need an elite operator to break into there as well. But like I'd say top 10 around roundabouts here, top 10, top 15.
Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking you're being. I mean, when you started saying 10, I was just sat there like, not sure.
Well,
10's a bit far because look, to be a top 10 team right now, you do have to be much better than they. In terms of the level of competition, you have to be able to beat. You have to be much better than what they have been. I don't think they've been top 10 caliber. Like the 9th best team in the world right now by VRS, and also probably by fairly well-made estimation, is Na'Vi.
Yep.
FaZe are 11. I'd have to believe that they could compete regularly and beat those teams. I don't think OG are there.
Yep.
And I do think it's in part, they don't have a strong AWP. I think it's part they do have a weakness in Nikodos, and also I think inexperience. They're going to get out-called in certain moments. They're going to be out-clutched by certain teams, certain players. Even if FaZe look like they're at an all-time low, you tell me you're going to pick them to lose to OG? Even if you like Spook, you like Adam B, there's just an element of experience that FaZe have in terms of closing out big games, playing into this sort of competition, and just being, able to outclass them overall. Like, I do think they will lose those matchups too frequently. 15th in the world, I think is fair. When you made the Pain comparison, I thought you were going in the right direction. Like, roughly around where Pain sit right now is where I can see them ending up at best.
Yeah, and that's sort of what I mean. Like, that's sort of what I mean with like the top 10 conversation is that teams like 3D Max, Pain, Gamer Legion, and where I think OG could end up, they're only 1 or 2 upset games, like a single upset game, and they momentarily enter the top 10. That's like, they're not too far away. They're in the conversation. They're a team which could end up there, but it's I don't think they're gonna end up in the top 10. I think they absolutely could end up in the top 15 sort of range, like 10 to 15. I have more than 5 or 6 teams who can end up in that top like 10 to 15 range though. Like there's a lot of teams who I think could end up there, but OG I would put up there pretty solid. And with I think maybe missing the major could be a blessing in disguise for them because of the way that they can sort of work at it. They can work at this sort of they're not locked out of the major. We're gonna get to that later, but they're not particularly close. They're gonna need not a miracle, but very good performance going forward, and some other stuff going their way to make it in. If they miss the major, I think it's fine for them because they can really work at it. They can really sort of settle this roster, maybe try to get the best out of Aristosh, get the best out of all of your players, and really set sail for those January invites and those January events where which I think they are going to get a couple, like based on where they are and based on what sort of online results they can get in that October-November range, which is a bit awkward. It's no man's land because the major's already going to be decided who makes it there, but we still have some decent events. We have some opportunity, like they might be at a PGL event based on how many teams have skipped. But point being, they can sort of work at that, and that it might be a blessing in disguise to miss the major and get an opportunity to grind out some points and try to make it past some of the major losers to start up the next year, right? But in the spring season 26, I could see them once again entering tier 1 as OG once were there, but once again making it back. I could see that.
All right, finally, let's wrap up this event with a real question that I know everyone in chat already knows the answer to. Is JBOEN the truth? Is he the savior of Danish CS? The one AWPer to drag this dreary, forgettable scene back into elite contention, back to at least being interesting? Quack, I don't know how much of him you've watched, but is JBOEN the truth?
None, but you keep telling me is, and I trust you implicitly on that. So,
Big JBOEN.
To play devil's advocate here, JBOEN's been around for a while. He's played decent amounts of maps in pretty low tier play in 2023, 2024, when he would have been 18, 19, and he was sub 1.0. So to play devil's advocate here, why is he suddenly the GOAT? of Denmark.
Well, to be clear, he's the GOAT AWPing talent prospect in Denmark. And that is in part because Denmark's AWPing prospects are fucking dreadful. As someone who's watched a lot of different Danish up-and-comers, it's been ugly, it's been messy. Those who are actually skilled have been dumb, and those who are smart have been boring and unable to hit, fun shots, big highlights. There's just been a lack of a complete player. And JBOEN brings, at least he's brought this year, never watched him on Astralis Talent because it was never worth watching Astralis Talent. Let's be clear. Let's be very clear. Those teams have never been good, even when they've had talent. And then never watched him on Prezi because they were never competing at a high enough level and never took that much interest. But on Vault, and then now even more so on Big Academy, he's been combining the electric dynamism of a slime in terms of actually hitting flicks, being impactful, being assertive, with also not being completely insane and dying for no good reason. That's been the appeal. That's why everyone is now a JBOENer and is rising up and making everyone very uncomfortable.
His improvement is a refinement. He's maturing. He's minimizing the risk while keeping the highs.
It must be something like that. Because, I never watched him on Atlantic. I never watched him on Astralis Talent. Prezi, I barely even noticed that roster in its exact form it was in existed. It's
there was
Becky's
no exact
good.
form.
Everyone told me Becky was good during that period, and I was like, okay, I watched a bit of Becky. He was all right. He was a Danish rifler. I'm sorry. Sorry, I didn't get overly excited about a Danish rifler in 2025. There's so many, and they're all kind of fine. But yeah, JBOEN at that point wasn't particularly impressive. Wasn't particularly standing out. So I never watched a demo. But then this year, holy crap! I don't know what he's changed. A new mouse, new keyboard. Maybe he's been hanging out with Flusher. I don't know, but he's doing well.
Because I'll give to sort of put that in. It seems like he has just randomly unlocked something in 2025. Because before he was only good in domestic play, and now he's good internationally. And maybe it is just Astralis Talent maybe just couldn't get the best out of their players, but
it would
be interesting to see.
Fair. It's not maybe.
No, never.
They pretty much have never
literally
been
never.
Good. No, they had one season of We Play. They made top 4, right? Roughly, I think it was, and that's about it.
I think they finished fine in We Play, season to season. It's just nobody was good there. The point of the league was to show off good talents, and they would win games. Just nobody was doing it for them. One player has consistently looked good for Astralis Talent, and it was Zyphon, and they removed him after a month. That's the history of Astralis Talent. No, it would be interesting to see one of those previous events as well. And about Prezi, not watching a Prezi lineup, you couldn't. Prezi never played 2 events with the same lineup.
Yeah, that's always been a problem as well. That's
I love Prezi. Prezi are really cool. I really like Prezi, and I met the guys from behind there, and they're really cool. They're really good guys. They really try, but it is a bit of a revolving door and always has been. And I never really know which direction they're going. At one point they have Altex and TMB. They signed Nikodos and Roy, and it's this is a tier 1 push. Fucking Dupree was playing there. And then the next day they have Griller, Becky, and Equip playing, and it's well, what is this? And then Asilian comes in, and Patty comes in. It's another tier 1 push, but cheaper this time. And then JBOEN comes in, and it's I don't even know where the hell you're taking this, but hey.
Yeah, no clue what's been going on behind the scenes at that org. But no, are we maybe being violently over glamorous in our descriptions of JBOEN? Maybe. But what matters is exactly what I described is true. He isn't playing safe, basic bitch AWP stuff. He's not playing forgettable CS. But he's also not doing a lot of dumb shit. He's being fairly efficient, all things considered, and just generally looks skilled. On a pistol, on a rifle, on an AWP. Doesn't matter what he's got in hand, he looks skilled. I know my Discord, someone was, I think it might have been Vondas, was just spamming clips of JBOEN just hitting deagle shots or something. I just saw someone, I was like, yeah, he's kind of good. He's just kind of good. So yeah, JBOEN, definitely an exciting player. Maybe are we overreacting? Maybe, but we're having fun, and that's what matters.
I'll give you, rating-wise, obviously there's a bit of 2.0 and 2.1 in here, but rating-wise, this is not just JBOEN's best LAN event; it's his best event overall ever. So yeah, is he really? Yeah, probably. That's the thing. But he was also conclusively mid on LAN prior to Game Zone Cup 2024, which is less than a year ago. So
yeah, when playing with inferior players, that was the problem. His teammates were literally forcing him to not hit the shots. Forcing him. They were holding his wrist.
Yeah. So, yeah, good job. A big academy. I don't know. The team doesn't excite me much beyond JBOEN, I'll be honest. I think QB and Maze can have a solid floor, but I like Zonic
and Widow. I'm just like, I don't know who the fuck you are, man.
Prove me wrong.
Big academy for so long, and I still don't know really who the fuck they are. It's just
they've been there for 2 months. But who the fuck are they?
They've been there forever. 2 months forever. I don't care. Who the fuck are these people?
Prove me wrong is the TLDR for them, and it's like, but Big Academy also, on the whole, looking at Big Academy's long and storied history in Counter-Strike, they usually do fine. It's definitely a better academy environment to be in terms of playing well in Tier 2 than Astralis is. In terms of then moving to Tier 1, it's probably the worst academy, because 0 Big Academy products have actually been good in the end, because they all end up on Big, and that is career suicide. But I hope he gets bought out instead of replacing Hyped. Holy shit, that's a realistic move, isn't it?
Yeah.
JBOEN replaces Hyped. That could happen tomorrow. I would honestly not be surprised if within a month's time that's part of our
is literally
shuffle.
Rising up.
Right. But then he's gonna be like, you cannot be a good opper and
He'll
play
still
on
be
Big.
playing Tier 2 play. Like, it's fine.
Unfortunately, that's impossible. However good he is now, you cannot be that good on Big's main team. It's just an impossibility, unfortunately. So I hope he doesn't. I hope somebody else buys him. Maybe Heroic need a new opper soon.
Another change in Heroic. I mean, I'll be down for it. Fuck it. Why not?
Wherever Fuzi doesn't go, JBOEN should go. That's just the truth. Fuck it, put him a wild. He can save wildcard. JBOEN and no cries to wildcard, please.
No cries as well. Yeah, screw it. Do
Fuck
all the
it.
changes. Let's do that.
Stanislaw gets Jaba, Peeping, no cries, and JBOEN, and you're telling me that Stanislaw is not going to turn that team into like a major qualifying team?
No, he won't. They'll cut him and then replace him with whoever the AI decide, and then bring him back again. But all right, let's move on to the other small event of the weekend, the Birch Cup. And we'll start with, obviously, the biggest name in attendance, that being Liquid. And now, they didn't win it. So, let's ask you, Quack, should Liquid be happy? Should they be happy? Their first event with Elige, it's a Birch Cup, it's a weird event in Poland. I mean, as much as Elige does look like he would be a Polish football fan, he isn't Polish. His name is Polish. He's American. It's a bit of a trek. What do we take away from this? Is it a W for Liquid to have made top 4? Or is this just a pretty disappointing exit at a weird event?
Objectively, the only reason Liquid were here was to play 5 games with Elige. And making top 4 achieved that exactly. So yes, they should be happy. They now no longer have to worry about not being able to play the major. And with that in mind, it's an absolute success. Liquid have nothing to be worried about. Gameplay-wise, I'll also say, this being Liquid, they could have bombed out so much harder than this, to be honest. Liquid could have lost straight up to both 500 and BetClick and gone out 0-2. With a new player in, even if it's Elige, with a new player in, that's absolutely something which could happen with Liquid. So, making top 4, it could have been a lot worse. So, yeah, I'll give them that. 9 as well. I think 9 played a respectable event, losing to them in the semifinals. I won't even blame them too much.
Let's stick to Liquid though. But come on, like
yeah.
I'm a bit. Liquid showing up at this event. I get what you mean. They just had to get the games in, right? Just had to get the maps in.
I really think the sentence "we're hoping to win this event" was never spoken in the Liquid camp all weekend. I don't think that was something. You obviously play for your best.
If that is true,
but
time out. If that's fucking true, what are you even doing competing in CS? If you, Team Liquid, who just re-signed Elige, who have a roster of Naf, Nerds, Shuhei, Ultimate, Elige, the highest ranked team at the event, can show up and go, not even going to talk about winning this event, the Birch Cup, then you have lost the fucking plot and are not competitors anymore. You're just check-stealing losers. I'm sorry, if that is how you entered that fucking event, that's your mindset, you don't think you can win that event? Jeez, just stop trying. Go be casters and streamers. I don't care. You clearly don't give a fuck about being competitors anymore. That is such a loser fucking thing to have said. If they actually were like that in camp, Jesus.
Yeah, that's me guessing. But like, I am to counterpoint. Then what the fuck are you doing in a $15,000 event to begin with? That's like, you had to be here to play the games, and that's the only thing you had to do.
And win. And you're always trying to win. You have to try to win. You can't come into this event without the goal to win. It's not like you have to face your playoff bracket of Mongols Vitality into Spirit to win the damn thing. You had to beat 500, 9, and then potentially X Inner Circle. They don't even have their own org.
Outer Circle,
that's the team you had to beat to get to a win here. As Liquid, I'm sorry, you have to be expecting to win, and you should be somewhat disappointed. Like, oh great, we managed to fill out the form, we got the ticks on the fucking piece of paper that we actually managed to have Elige on our team now. You should expect to win this shit. You should be somewhat, miffed. You should be a bit disappointed. We didn't win this cup, the Birch Cup.
With how low the bar is for Liquid perennially, but also in the 2025 fall season, with how low that bar is, all things considered, beating 500, I think, is a step forward. That's like, no, look, Liquid had a great run in the fuck it's called Fisher.
Yeah, they did beat FaZe Aurora at Fisher Playground. So yes, it is not reasonable to expect them to beat 9 in a BO3. Sorry, that is my bad. They only made top 4
Fisher Playground, side note, Fisher is such a disgusting name for a tournament organizer. I tried looking for their tournament pictures once, and like I stopped myself just before hitting enter while searching Fisher images. But yeah, holy shit.
What?
No, okay. It's Fisher, like what a fissure. What is a fissure? I'll ask you that.
It's an opening in the ground.
Or an opening in your anus. Yes, that
technically,
it's a medical
if you look
term.
up anal fissures, you will find anal fissures. But if you're looking for a fissure, you're going to find a fucking Yu-Gi-Oh card and holes in the ground.
Aside from the Wikipedia article defining the word fissure, the second result on Google is Cleveland Clinic. Anal fissure. What it is, symptoms, causes, and treatment. If I go in images, it's all anuses. That's
so unrelated.
That's all it is. It's entirely unrelated. It's just like, I don't want to think about it. Anyway, they did fine there. You have a new player. You're going into this event. Liquid can lose to absolutely anybody. In the grand scheme of things, with the rest of the season to go, getting the games in is baby steps. I look. As competitors, you always want to go in to win. You always want to go in to win. But I think Liquid went into this thinking we are too good to win this event in a way. Like they think like we are too good. We're like to take this event seriously. And that's that's a shame if they thought that way, but that's genuinely what I think they felt. Like, I don't think
the entire team.
I've been saying that for years. I hate
if you
Liquid.
Genuinely
I don't like
that,
Liquid.
Disband it. Just disband it all.
Liquid, I was so much hoping that they would just lose 2 games and be out, and then losing groups in Philadelphia, just because it would be so funny to see what happens if Elige doesn't make it onto the roster. I don't know. I just didn't feel that way. Ultimate was probably trying his best, but like, yeah. I don't think they didn't need to try. They needed the games. That's what they needed. And I think that's the bar they set, and that's what they did. That's probably why they won't win the major. The fact they feel that way is why they're probably not going to win anything. But I think that's how they feel, unfortunately. But yeah, what do I know? I haven't asked them.
Just, if any of what you've just speculated turns out to be true, there is, let's put it this way, in their bedrooms, at their hotels, at tournaments, they're sitting in the chair. Let's just put it that way. They're sitting in the chair.
What did
also
anybody
at the Fisher Cup? Also at the Fisher Cup, because I cannot keep reiterating the same 10 things about Liquid. We talk about the people who beat them, the people who actually won the event. 9. Now, 9 are a bit of a weird team because, we liked the Fuzi part of this team. We liked Fuzi specifically. We thought he was a great player on the team, and when they lost him, he went back to wildcard. It was we were like, well, kind of shame, right? Like, we like, in theory, some of these pieces, but without Fuzi, that playmaking spark, who's going to really win them games? And it turns out, the combination of Berry, Rals, and Farven get it done. They really do just get it done. Berry, we know, we've rated him for a long time as a coach, the impact he can have on a team, what he can make happen. But yeah, they're able to take down Liquid. Farven, Sejot, fragging out in that game. Two of the players we've had the biggest question marks with. Like, we've been like, can Farven, show off the form, show off the skill that got him signed into big in the first place, that got him all hyped up for us? Can we see the shit Sejot who we see in very brief flashes every now and then? Every now and then we see a truly amazing Sejot. Most of the time, he feels like a bit of a role player, young guy, just still figuring out his role. They get it done with Modo still, who's not playing a particularly interesting level. Like, he's not playing a particularly great game. He's playing fine, but he's not carrying this team. That's what Fuzi kind of was doing. He was the highest rated player on the team, winning a lot of big rounds. Does this vindicate 9? Are they now feeling, yes, we were right to believe in our coach, in our IGL, in some of these riflers who other people have been happy to toss away? Hell, even signing Modo, he played pretty well here. Should they feel vindicated by their results here in terms of their past decisions, the roster moves they've made, what they've assembled?
100%. Yes, I think I think 9 have built a great team. Once again, 9 and Barry keep building teams that I think are more than some of their parts. They keep doing it with relatively limited resources. They do have a new betting sponsor, but it's not like they've paid huge buyouts for any of these players. They coping pretty well with the last minute removal of Fuzi, which was out of their control, to then get a stand-in Opera and win a LAN event. Yeah, very solid. You're beating Liquid on the way there. You've got a good level of Faven, which was impossible for Big to do. I think, in general, Kragan as a signing has proven me wrong a bit. I wasn't particularly excited about it. I never thought Kragan was particularly amazing. And he hasn't, I'll be clear, he hasn't been particularly amazing on 9 as a whole, but he's good at this event, and he hasn't been bad. So
yeah, he rarely has in his career. Just a side note, to touch on Kragan.
Yeah,
in his career, he's been on the spectrum of Danish riflers, which, as I've said before, for the last 5 years has been incredibly boring. Like, it bottoms out at still okay as a support, I guess, and tops out at, wow, if he's a support, he's really impactful. Like, this is a pretty good player to have on my team as my third or fourth man. Like, that's kind of been the spectrum of Danish riflers in terms of up-and-comers. Kragan's probably been on not really the upper half of that sort of section, but I've never been truly thrilled by it, obviously. So yeah, no, standout performance, I think, from him here. And if Barry can get that out of him time and time again, hell yeah, we're talking.
Yep, and Sejot is obviously talented. I think Rals, as much as Bird from Sky keeps saying that he shouldn't, IGL, the teams that Rals IGLs just keep doing kind of well. Like, we're talking about around the 30 mark pretty much consistently for any Rals led team. We're talking about 9, we're talking about Sprout, etc., etc. Copenhagen Flames for a bit, I think, even. But yeah, anyway. It's really solid. Sejot as well, ridiculously talented. He was very up and down this event, but
he's just up and down all the time, it feels like,
Yeah, call him a paper towel the way he was cleaning up Liquid, though. Like, that's fucking... he was doing so well in both of those games.
Do you know what's funny? At the Birch Cup, wow, I just looked into this. Like, his numbers for the event are not spectacular, right?
No, they're pretty
overall.
bad actually. Yeah.
And the Birch Cup, his 2.0 rating, the estimation Edge uses, gives a 1.04. It goes up in full buy v full buys though. Like he's actually having impact beyond what the initial stats sheet implies. Now, of course, rating 3.0 is very performant. I do think their 0.88 isn't to be dismissed, but I do think it is a reflection of that Sejot probably is doing a lot of tough stuff on this team, and I'm just waiting for the team that actually Sejot gets to star on. Because I feel like he never truly has. Like the one opportunity he maybe had was Endpoint, and even then it was alongside another rifler taking a lot of the attention in a Zulu. So I think Sejot's still figuring out what his role is and how he's best utilized. But pop off against Liquid, yeah, nice to see.
Yeah, it's yeah. I think also the fact Moto doesn't entirely pop off. Moto is still here on a trial, temporary basis, whatever.
Yeah.
The fact that they can win an event with him still really shows, because I think if they had Fuzi on here, Fuzi was so nuclear in Nine's online games.
Yeah.
Keeps being so good in Wildcards online games as well. And on LAN as well. At this event, I don't think they were particularly good overall, but nobody was particularly good overall on Wildcard. If they can replace Modo with somebody who can have those same sort of peaks, I'm thinking a JBOEN. Like, this 9 team is dangerous. They're going to miss the major, but for 2026, nobody's buying Faven. I think Faven is right in that territory where like his prime is definitely past him, but somehow Nine keep getting good stuff out of him. While to say that I think it's not unreasonable to say Faven might be the best player in Germany right now. Who's up there with him? Crimbo, but Crimbo's pretty mid recently.
Crimbo's, I mean, that's the thing. Germany's just been disappointing, like as a nation in Counter-Strike recently. So no, it's not. Given the form Faven has shown in 9, and like this run was pretty spectacular. He's been so good, closing especially in terms of all the rounds. Yeah, no, that's not a bad take. Quack with a good take. We love to see it.
You keep getting good stuff out of Faven, but nobody's going to buy him out. There's like nobody's going to buy Faven at this point. Nobody's going to buy Kragan. Like, he is a solid player, but he's not getting bought. Sejot's the guy who's at risk of being bought out, but honestly, at this rate, you're not really getting that. He's not really in people's scope at the moment, I don't think, because he is not consistently that good. Keep getting stuff out of this 9 team. I could see them entering like a lower tier 1 conversation in 2026. I could see them at ESL Pro League. I could see them in some of these PGL lands where you get a couple of skipped invites. Fisher sort of events, all these. I could see them there, and I could see them doing fine. It's a long ways. It's a long ways making it very deep, but there's somebody I could see in like a Cologne Major 26. I could see them qualifying for that. Right.
No, I don't hate the take. I actually don't hate the take. And my one problem with it, just in terms of believing in 9, taking a step forward, is just I need a better AWPer. I need an AWPer who's going to do more. Like, I need basically what I need is another star. Really, it's I don't even need it to be a great AWPer. Maybe if they sign our boy JBOEN, maybe if they can get a consistent star level out of a Kragan, out of a Sejot, and then you're fine with a like kind of milquetoast like Modo type AWPer. That's okay as well. I just need to see a second star. And I think I got some of that at this event. Kragan was great. I just haven't been able to depend on it for the last 9 months. This team's been around a good while, and it's typically very little going right outside of Faven. So if I get the second star, 100%, and I'd want it to be the AWPer. So Fuzi, for me, that's why it was a great addition. That's why it worked so well, if you look back. And then if it's not going to be Fuzi, obviously with the wildcard thing, try a JBOEN, or again, maybe look for a rifling change, or maybe a dress, or see what went right here to get Kragan this hot, and try and replicate it, because I need a second star. But no, the leadership core on this team has been so successful. Just year after year, guys like Berry and Rals just get it done. Success after success. And it's a bit like Alex, on Gentlemates. When he's, in English, he's not had as many good results. But time and time again, you give Alex pieces, who speak Spanish, he's going to win games. Berry, Rals, same sort of thing. Like, they are valuable guys in Tier 2. And they really get a lot out of their rosters. 9 are exciting. Moving on. One of the big disappointments for me at the Birch Cup and I'm sure for a lot of people, is there a future for Fnatic? And by that I mean a future that's better than this, that's worthy of the caliber of player they have had and currently do have on this roster. I mean, I'm sure none of us kid ourselves and think Cypher is an upgrade to Mattis when that move happens. But still, if you're looking at the Fnatic roster, Jambo, one of the most talented Ukrainian AWPers, honestly, even at this event, was still fantastic. He's super flashy. He's pioneered the style I call every gun's a scout, and he is the best at it. Like, in terms of tier 2 guys coming up, a lot of guys play like that. He's the one who does it the most consistently, the most successfully. Blame F, huge name. Huge name. Disappointing at this event. You know, by his standards, 1.05. Crims is still, you know, a legend CS royalty for a lot of people in terms of he can't seem to get cut no matter how poorly he plays. Plays well here. So he's going to keep being on this side, it seems, forever. Will it get better?
Well, I think it's impossible to look at this team pound for pound and say that it's players that couldn't be in tier 1. I think every single player here could be in tier 1. We have Fear. No, like pound for pound. I think even Cypher.
I'm just saying,
you know,
okay. Don't need to read into it.
Yeah, no. Yeah. I think even Cypher, you know, he played in that major. He ends up there. It's a bit of a fluke thing, but like he's there. It's an overperformance, but he's shown he can do it. You had Fear get there with Passion UA as well, and Jambo, Blame F, Crims naturally I think have what it takes to be in tier 1. Crims has really stepped up on this Fnatic team for the fall season as well, I will say, to the point where like he was definitely hanging loose in the spring season, but now he's solid. He's doing his job. So is there hope for them? Yeah. If I didn't know anything about Fnatic, like if this team was assembled today and you asked me, can this team make it into tier 1? I would say yeah, for sure, absolutely. But the thing is, they keep fucking up. they keep being dumb as hell. They keep in these. It's not even high pressure games, because it isn't really high pressure games. It's just games where they have a lot to lose, not a lot to gain. That's where they keep losing, and that's the loss they took against Alliance. That's the loss they took against ESC. Those two losses basically locked Fnatic out of the major. You have again this X in this out to circle game. They have.
I kind of like that.
Yeah. Do they have anything to gain from winning against Outer Circle, like winning that game? No. Do they have a lot to lose from it? Yeah. Like they're losing to a shit team, of course. Yeah. Why? But those are the games they keep losing in. The fact they can't really they don't beat Ends on. This is a different event, but like they lost to Ends online. These sort of games. Ecstatic is another one they've lost to several times, I think, at this point. It doesn't look that great. So is there hope? I think if they fix those games, they're in with a better chance of doing good. Still some ways off. Just start winning those games. You can't the losses you can't afford, you can't keep losing. That's the thing. So
yeah, I'm gonna scroll right now. I'm just having a scroll. Looking through Fnatic's results. And I'm trying to look at which is the last impressive win I have for them. That will tell you there's a future. And it's
there's
dire.
none.
I mean, it's dire. I mean, even some of the wins where it's like, it's online, you're playing teams who are clearly tier 2 that you should be expecting to win, you know, expecting to beat. The Namigas, the Gun 5s, you should be expecting to beat them. Ruby, Reason, should be expecting to beat them. Let's go back to Draculan, basically. When, you know, they were playing Draculan and winning it, whilst also at the same time playing Blast Open London. And in Blast Open London, they get that 2-0 win over Gamer Legion. Pretty much.
And even that.
Pretty much
even
it,
that,
and otherwise.
Even that, I remember our analysis was that Gamer Legion lost more than Fnatic won. I think it was more so that Gamer Legion fumbled than Fnatic overpowered them.
You still have to win the game. You still have to win the game, but still, that's
but like,
especially Game Legion's a team on the slide, right? They're not a team on the up. They've had a lot of issues. They're making changes at AWP now. Like, this is not that great of a win, and so you really, it's starting to get frustrating being a Fnatic believer. You know, there's not much going for them.
This exact 5 has had 0 wins, which genuinely impressed me, because the best wins they have in that case is a Gamer Legion, which was pretty, like, as you say, on the slide with Kersey. who also in that game looked significantly worse than they did in other games at the same event. They play Navi. They've played Navi at least once, I think maybe even twice with this exact 5. They lost both of them. If they could have taken that win, I would have thought that's a really good win. They play OG, they lose. They beat ENS now and again. Doesn't exactly impress me either, because what the hell are ENS doing?
Maybe a BetBoom win looks much better now than it did at the time, but that's a freshly assembled BetBoom pretty much, like in terms of the dealer desk version. So I don't know.
Yeah, but BetBoom also lost Landaland to Paravision like yesterday.
Yeah, that was a banging series, 5 maps. Like that's actually something I forgot to put in the notes. Is honestly Landaland. That was a sick event. We're gonna add it to the notes, by the way. I'm gonna put it a bit later in the show just so we can get some other stuff out of the way. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like even that is not particularly impressive because even that is like a 50-50. It's BetBoom and Fnatic are pretty evenly matched, I would say. So Fnatic winning that game, yeah, it's not exactly like they're punching upwards. Gamer Legion is their most impressive win ranking-wise, but again, Gamer Legion are on the way down, is with Kersey. And that particular game was worse than the rest of that event was for Gamer Legion. So, it's a bit here and there. And they don't really get the chances either, because Fnatic are not going to be in the major, they're not going to be in... I'm pretty sure they're not going to be in Dallas or the PGL event. I don't think they're in the CS Asia thing. The best they can hope for is getting like a... Oh, they are in the CS Asia Championships.
There you go.
That's a chance for them to take like a phase, or even a Pain or a 3D Max. I would honestly think was more impressive for Fnatic. A Tyloo. That's a chance. Take that chance, and I'll believe in you. But otherwise, I don't.
Yeah, that's kind of the Birch Cup for me. Like, there wasn't too many other teams I cared to talk about. Like, could I have talked about 500 going on a run off the back of a star-level vault? Maybe if they'd actually gotten any further than the Liquid game. I just... It wasn't that inspiring to me. Instead, I'd rather actually go talk about Pro League, because we are an hour and 6 minutes into this, and we haven't even touched on Pro League yet.
Let's do it.
And the opening question I had for Pro League was written before today's games were played. Are we HOTU Believers? Now, I said, one of the first things I actually got into on the double swing previewing Pro League, Furia are more likely to be upset by this HOTU team than I think any of the other big upsets possible in that opening game. Like, I just thought straight up, like, this is a losable match. 8-1 underdogs HOTU. Thanks for the money, by the way. I just had that in mind. I was like, this looks like a loss. You're coming off a championship, you're playing against a team who are leagues beneath you. You're probably not going to have your prep done, really, for this team. Like, you're going to be watching HOTU v Ruby at 1 a.m. crunching the fucking demo. No, you're fucking not. No, you're not. And I thought this would be dangerous, because HOTU are a team of players who are all skilled. They've got a decently experienced coach behind them. They've won some solid games online. They play just as a 5, like, difficult CS, I think. Like, it's not too standard. It's a bit off meta. I'm like, yeah, maybe there's something to this. Maybe this HOTU team can upset. I thought that was a good chance they did. Put the bet on. They did. I was very, very amused by that. They're also my underdog pick from that double swing episode. Then today, before we even got to the question, they played a series against Bait. And the reason it ended so quickly is because map 3, HOTU won 13-2. Both teams losing their map picks before an absolutely destructive ancient. Neither team really getting good T-sides rolling on any map. But yeah, HOTU 2-0 now at Pro League Stage 1. How do you like them, Quack? Do you see them as a future Tier 1.5 side who's actually going to be here? Or is this just, they got a bit lucky?
No, I think it's solid. They've sort of flown under the radar. It's not exactly... The names aren't that big. In general, Frontales is somebody who was on that... He was on that Hesta team, which everybody accused of shit.
He was, yes.
And honestly, maybe that was fair. Maybe that was a fair accusation. Frontales was one of the guys people were accusing, like, in particular, but, like, maybe that was fair. He got out of there. He's on HOTU now, and now he's won 2 series at ASL Pro League. So... He's probably not cheating here anyway. I feel like not many people
LAN hacks. Check his mouse.
Yeah.
Check his mouse.
Nobody. I didn't see a lot of people talk about this. Well, obviously, a lot of us were thinking about the Norbert edition when we're thinking about HOTU, talking about HOTU prior to this event. It's like, well, they have Norbert now. For me, I really felt like that was a big thing, because I remember when Norbert was genuinely ripping shit up in Tier 2. Like, before joining VP.
You're the K23 Norbert.
Yeah, VP
Yeah,
had VP. Since they signed the Avangard roster, like pretty much everybody who was ripping stuff up in tier 2 has just become a support player on tier 2. Pretty much Flit is the exception. Even Fame is a little bit here and there. That's not who Norbert is, and I feel like most people didn't even think about that. Like Norbert is now 130 at ESL Pro League. I don't think that's unexpected at all. He's 131 even. That's like where I could see Norbert being for HOTU. So I didn't see a lot of talk about that, which I think is interesting. They have Mo as well. Mo as a coach. I wouldn't think Mo, on the face of it, I wouldn't think Mo would be that good of a coach just out of all the players I could think of in the CIS scene. HOTU have very good results with him. And Mo, he strikes me as somebody who takes tier 2 play pretty serious because he's like, people forget about it, but he really was around for ages. Like he has been playing shit tier Counter-Strike for 5 years at this point on various teams. He was in K23, he was on Simon, he was on Forward for ages with Dosha. And now he's coaching this team. He didn't just drop off at the face of the earth after winning the major with Gambit, or leaving Gambit rather. He's been around, he seems to take this seriously, and now HOTU are having some success with him. Good fucking job. So I didn't see the Furia upset happening. I'll be honest. I think Furia were more solid than that. I feel like Furia have had a better floor than that recently. But I'm not. Now that it's happened, I'm not that. That's really solid. And especially with that in mind, I'm not that surprised they've beaten Bait either, because Bait don't strike me as a team who have a lot of variance at all. Like they mostly win the games they should win. They mostly lose the games they should lose, and that's sort of frustrating with them that they don't really move forward. So HOTU winning, yeah, good job. I can see them going through. I can see, I can see them going through as well because we don't know how they seed the round to round, but they're probably gonna face there's a 50% chance they're playing either Astralis, ENS, Gamer Legion, or Inner Circle in the next game. Or maybe even a 67% chance they're playing one of those. All 4 of those are entirely winnable for HOTU the way they're playing, I think.
Let me see, hang on.
So what do I know?
So, the potential opponents who could go 2-0. Yeah. Look, Astralis, ENS, G2, Gentlemates, current Inner Circle, Gamer Legion. Look, there's some losable games there. Obviously, if they match up with G2, we expect them to lose, right? We expect them to lose. But a game against an Astralis or an ENS, a game against a Gamer Legion or an Inner Circle, 100% they could just go 3-0. Like that could be a 3-0 game. I mean, Gentlemates aren't beating G2 though, so that could be a 3-0 game. That could be a 3-0 team. Now, if they go down 2-1, do I still expect them to go through? Yeah, honestly, they have 3 opportunities right now to win a BO3 against teams that are beatable for the most part. Like outside of G2, they can't face Furia again. They've got winnable games.
3D Max, Matey, Heroic, Legacy, NRG. I won't put a Fluxo upset out of question. All of those are fully winnable for HOTU. So, yeah. At this point, I would say they go through.
Yeah, they should be. And Believers long-term, I don't know. I mean, I like certain things about them, like in terms of the way they play and who's on the team, but it's not really... It's not like a superstar, well-established set of players. If Frontalis turns out to be the next really good Russian AWPer, I mean, so far he's on track at this event, that's awesome. That'll make me a true believer. But for now, we need to convert some of the false hope into real hope, and we'll see what comes next. But yeah, really excited for HOTU. Loving the fact that I got my underdog picks so far vindicated. But let's get into the more general things. The less shocking, maybe. 0-1, who's actually done? Who do you look at in the 0-1 bracket and go, yeah, that team's not recovering. That team's just not coming back from that deficit. What's your pick of the teams? Maybe even one that's maybe more interesting than necessarily just obvious. Because obviously no one's sitting here going, Rooster's going to come all the way back. No one's thinking that. You saying Heroic are making it back, yeah?
No, I don't think they're making it back. And I'm really sad about that. I really hope they do. I really hope they do, but I don't. I feel like they're gone. I don't. That M80 game is extremely tricky. As much as M80 losing to ENCE, I didn't expect that. But M80 are really tricky. They're favorites going into that game, I would say. Heroic just can't catch a break. They have the major qualification pressure on their shoulders as well. I don't like the way it's looking. I think they go 0-2, and from there, fucking like yeah. If you end up playing a 3D Max in one of the subsequent, like if they play Rooster, they're obviously going through. But if they end up playing 3D Max in one of those next rounds, yeah, they could make it. Maybe they go out. I don't feel good about it. Fluxo matching up with Furia is tough. It's a domestic game that stuff could happen. Art as well is there still against Furia. Could happen. I think NRG are a bit gone as well. I don't think NRG recover from this really. But Heroic are the ones I really don't like the look of it right now. I feel like they not only was that Gentle Mates win very necessary for the VRS in terms of the major race. It was just necessary for this event in general. I feel like because if they are the ones who end up in that 1-0 bracket, matched up against the G2 Astralis or Gamer Legion, they're out. Like they lose that and they go 1-1 100%. Unfortunately, right now I have a hard time. I love Heroic, but after the way Fisher's gone, I have a really hard time backing them in a lot of these games. Yeah. I think they go 0-2 after today.
Now, obviously, it's going to sound like I'm being revisionist or using the results to my advantage, but no, I knew Rooster were losing 3D Max. I had zero faith in Rooster. Let's just look through some of these 0-1 teams. M80 Heroic should both be aiming to come out of this. Like, they should be aiming to finish, 3-2, 3-1. They should be expecting to bounce back. Which one I think is more realistic? M80, obviously. I do think M80 is the more realistic team.
100%.
To actually do something. Heroic, I really wish, but I don't have a lot of faith in players like Alcaraz, honestly. I need to see more from Nilo in that opening loss. I needed to see more from xCloud at the prior event. I just don't think either one's been on their top game. So I am genuinely a bit shook when it comes to Heroic faith. I've not got a lot of it left. And I think that the M80 game will be a loss for them. Furia, I expect to come back comfortably. I expect them to smash Fluxo today and then just come straight back to 3-1. 3-1, 3-2 is a worst case, but I don't think it'll happen given it's all series. Fluxo, one of my picks to go 0-3. Depends who they get in their 0-2 matchup. Legacy NRG, I expect Legacy to go out 2-3. I expect NRG to go out. They're one of my 0-3 candidates. They're one of the candidates for 0-3. It all depends on matchup. If you are NRG and you get Rooster in the 0-2 game, congrats. You missed out on being 0-3. You just managed to get the easiest opponent possible. But overall, I do think this is a roster that's... Yeah. This is a set of 0-1 teams that are just not looking great. NRG, will lose most of those matchups. Let's put it that way. So, some teams I expect to bounce back. Some teams I really don't. We've got some really crackhead ideas of how we save Heroic in the chat going down. Malo 9 to Heroic is not a good idea.
But Susp or even a Poi?
I don't think Poi's a good idea.
Sign me the fuck up.
Susp's a good idea. In terms of the roles I want to see someone playing, it's not Poi. I do not want Poi playing xCloud's positions and roles and style. Like, he's not even that guy. But Susp I can fuck with. Susp I can fuck with to be in that position. To play dirty, mucky roles and make the most of it, that's Susp. So, yes. And Fuzi, he's going to be better than Alcaraz. So, yeah.
He is going to be better than Alcaraz, yeah.
In that sense, go for it. Go nuts. That's a pretty good... That's a pretty solid Swedish lineup. It's not insane, but it's pretty good.
Even if his average isn't even that much better, like even if his average is like a 110, he's going to have something Alcaraz doesn't, and that's going to be 160 pop-off maps. That's what he's going to have. He's going to have 25 maps, like 25 frag maps. Alcaraz just doesn't have that, seemingly. So that's a big side note.
Those are the 0-1s.
But fix Heroic, please.
On the other side of things, the 1-0s. Do we have any false prophets, Quack?
I'll tell you one thing. Gamer Legion lost the opening map to Inner Circle 3-13. And they're playing Overpass right now.
Yeah, but to be fair, the map they lost, they just lost Ancient and Gamer Legion removed Mirage. Basically, when you play Inner Circle, if you can avoid playing Ancient and Mirage, I think you should win. Now, the fact that Inner Circle played 3D Max, only played Ancient, lost Ancient, and beat them on Nuke and Train is more of an indictment on 3D Max than anything else. Because I'm like, damn.
Yep.
I've not liked so much what I've seen from the Onyx-led Inner Circle on most maps. I've loved what I've seen on Ancient. I've loved what I've seen on Mirage. But the fact that they got absolutely slaughtered on most maps is kind of crazy. In that sense, Inner Circle are an interesting team to match up with now. Because if they're going to start winning more maps than just the ones I know them to be good at, oof, they are a scary team because they are talented. And if they've figured out a full map pool, god damn. I mean, they still have the issue of they probably like still are a bit too singular in their sort of approach. Like they are very exec rush heavy brawl focused team. And in that sense, I thought they always looked like they could be countered. But if they're rounding out their map pool, filling up like, you know, their call sheet with more ideas, tactics, and little things, they're terrifying. Because their rifle core can go up against almost anyone.
Yeah.
Like Davu, Cairn, Knifey, that's a crazy good rifle core. I'm going to be honest. I'm very impressed with them.
Yep. The way it's looking right now, the way the ongoing games are looking, is that we're going to have a HOTU, Inner Circle, and ENCE in the 2-0 pool after today. I'm not sure I believe in ENCE to make it out, even if they do end up 2-0. I'm not sure I believe in Inner Circle all the way. I'm not sure I believe in Gamer Legion either. Like, no matter how it goes. Because they are so up and down. And Hypex is a bit of an unknown. Stuff could go a lot of different ways right now. But I don't see any like glaring, like, you know, they shouldn't be here kind of teams.
Well, in that sense, we are lucky this is a stage 1, right? The top end talents of this sort of pool is Furia G2. After that, we take a bit of a sort of fall to get to 3D Max, Astralis, Game Legions. They're teams who we see at a lot of tier 1 events we expect to be better than the field. It's just they're not that far ahead of that field. And so it's very much an open door. That's why I loved this idea, or this event rather, for Inner Circle back when they were TNL. I was talking to Onyx about it. I was like, that's an event I expect them to do well at. Like, in terms of the teams they match up with here, they can have a good game against. There's plenty. And the fact they've already beaten one of the tougher opponents they can face in terms of 3D Max, fantastic. I think there's a great chance that a circle go through. In terms of if I have to pick one, I think the prediction right now, of all the 1-0 teams, one of them to not go through, that's a bit of a spicy one. I'm not liking what I'm seeing out of Gamer Legion at all. And they should be a lock to go through this pool. But they've been disappointing. They don't feel like they even have like much of a home map right now. Like, I feel like they're trying to slide into Overpass. But I don't know. I'm not seeing the true fruit of that sort of change yet. I'm not seeing them really exploiting it that often. I mean, here, if they take another win on it, you know, they're about to play. They're playing in a circle on it. They got the pistol round. They're on the T side. If they can sweep through like a 9-3 half, that'll reinforce it. But currently, yeah, I'm a bit worried about Gamer Legion, and otherwise, yeah, maybe Gentlemates. So there's only so much Alex can do. If they get outgunned too many times, they might go out 2-3. But yeah, those are my picks.
Yep, I think that there's only one team I can really confidently say I don't think are going to make it out, and it's Gentlemates. But just to really consider that for a second, the G2 game, all right? G2 are going to make it out regardless. It doesn't matter for them. I don't think they have any trouble going 3-1 or 3-2, even if they end up losing a game somewhere here. Gentlemates, that game is worth its weight in gold in terms of the major race, which for them it's a slim chance, but it is alive. Do you see any way they just absolutely brute force that game? With you said before, like Alex, give him pieces, make him speak Spanish, he's going to win games. They're playing G2, who won a big event. They're solid. Historically, can also lose a little bit random games.
Historically, I guess, but like if I have to go fucking far back enough, but like this roster, who have they lost to? Like seriously, since they made
Not a
this
lot.
team.
No,
who have they lost?
that's true as well. Vitality, Spirit, Mouse, Falcons. Basically only Furia.
They've lost
in
to other
Fisher.
top teams. They haven't had
Yep.
slip-up losses. Yeah, they
Nope.
literally haven't. Not a single one. So I have no reason to be concerned in that matchup. They're going to outgun them easily. Let's be clear. And in terms of the calling diff, Alex is a great leader. I've made that case earlier today. He's not going to have enough, like in terms of strats, motivation, like anti. He's not going to have enough, I think, to get this group past G2. I think this is a generous 2-1 loss for Gentlemates.
Let's hypothesize three factors that I think are not unrealistic that they happen. Malb's underperformance, Alex outcalls Hunter, Martinez out-ops Sunpius. Are G2 still winning?
Yes.
All right, then yeah,
that's the
fine.
thing. That's part of what makes them so good. It's like, oh, Malb's having a shit day in Banana. Look, let's flash Matisse out of fucking Boiler. There's a triple kill. They have so much talent, and they're able to close rounds through. You know, Hunter himself can actually close rounds pretty well, but also Heavy God is the closer of the moment. Like they have way too many options for winning games. It's not just, Malb's had a bad day, Sunpius got out-orped. So what? That's half the games they played at Blast London. They won that damn thing.
Yep.
So I'm just not worried.
Yeah, because that's the only three things I think M80 or M8 rather they can beat G2 on. It's calling, it's opping, and it's the fact that Mabs just randomly underperforms.
It's not random. It's just doing too much, bro. Just doing too much.
Yeah, true. But like those three things can happen. Even then, if Mate still lose, even then yeah, that's a fair. Was just my question.
But yeah, okay. Well, let's get into some wider implications in the scene in terms of everything that's been happening. We're going into Major Watch. Quack, I'm going to need you to do the roundup. I'm going to go grab something to drink. The voice is failing me again. So yeah, break it down for us. Who's losing? Who's gaining? Who's close? What's going on?
Allow me to quote Finn Mischief, whatever his last name is. As HLTV penned him. Sorry, let me just find exactly what they penned him. The man with the special spreadsheets, courtesy of King Demps. Tinder bio. The major race is increasingly decided. As previously, the top 5 are locked in. Vitality, Spirit, G2, Mouse, Falcons are going to be in the major. Looks like they are more or less confirmed to be in stage 3 as well. That's more or less confirmed now. Aurora, Navi, Astralis, FaZe, and Liquid are locked in. Also looks pretty locked in for stage 2 as well. There's a chance Liquid or FaZe drop down into stage 1. Depends on what happens in Philadelphia. 3D Max, Gamer Legion, NIP are locked in. Bait, more or less locked in. Here's the crucial swing from last week to this one. Perivision have completely knocked BetBoom out of major contention, and Perivision now have a 76% of qualifying. Nice. And then we are down to the 16th spot. If you were counting, you noticed that I had listed 15 teams. The 16th spot is between... Realistically, it's between 4 teams with an outside chance of another 3, but I'll just say that's not going to happen. Still inside the major at an almost unchanged 50% is SAW. Because the only thing for weeks that has been able to change SAW's chances up or down of making the major significantly has been Fragadelphia, which isn't happening until this week. So that's what's going to decide things for SAW. Big drop off after Gentlemates losing to Gentlemates. Heroic, like at one point, Heroic had something like 80-90% chance of qualifying, according to Mischief. They're down to 35. It's grim. The fact they play M80 doesn't fill me with a lot of confidence because, again, it's a game where Heroic have a lot of VRS points to lose. I think that game, I think my estimate, with my limited knowledge of how Mischief runs these simulations, etc., is that if Heroic lose that game to M80 today, their chance goes down to like 10%. Is my estimate. OG, big swing, up from like 7% to 27% through winning Birch Cup. I think what was talked about is that OG basically have to win everything they're playing going forward. So that's solid for them. I don't know if they're at Riga. Who is at Riga? Yeah, OG are a high seed invite at this Riga Open. And they're playing tomorrow morning. They basically have to win that and then win Philadelphia, and that's going to lock them into the major. There's a couple of other ways, but yeah. And that's about it. Virtus Pro still have a 13% chance. The thing is, with them being blocked from ESL Pro League, which I'll get to, they have nothing left to play. And that's taken their chance from like 75% to 10%, because they can't change anything now. The 13% chance that they make it in is the case where nobody overtakes them. So if a Heroic, an OG, a Saw, outside chance of a Gentlemates, Fnatic, Ecstatic, I think technically Paravision, they're not quite in yet, but they're probably going to be in. If one of those teams overtakes Virtus Pro, which has an 87% chance of happening, then Virtus Pro are missing the major. So we can all rejoice at that. Virtus Pro are not going to be at the major. Gentlemates, Fnatic, Ecstatic, their major odds were slim to begin with, but they are basically dead at this point. Gentlemates, yeah, they basically need to win everything, and even then, it's gonna depend on other results. So yeah, that's what the major race is looking like in Europe. Mischief hasn't posted American numbers because I don't think anything significantly changed over the past couple of days. But so I don't have his simulation numbers. But the last time he posted, sorry, it was a couple of days ago. Basically locked in for everybody in the top 7. Passion UA booked their spot in stage 2, I think, with the way they played here, depending on how Philadelphia goes. Wildcard look like they're in. 9Z are so up and down, I have no idea what's going on. Sharks are like randomly doing okay in the major race. They might make it in. Bestia, Skin Rave, Odic, they're kind of here and there. The rest is locked in. It's gonna be the Americas. Like everybody down to MIBR is more or less confirmed. So
okay,
that's not what we're talking about. We have also like the Asian race we touch upon every now and again. Not much has changed there. It is a very boring major race. Like I suppose there was a slim chance if Rooster got a couple of upset wins here that they could have stolen a major spot, but it is basically about Rare Atom versus Chinggis Warriors, and a minimal risk that the Huns drops out. But like Rare Atom versus Chinggis Warriors, and I don't even think they have much to play for anymore. The Chinggis Warriors have nothing left scheduled on HLTV, and Rare Atom also have nothing left scheduled for HLTV. So I think Rare Atom are locked in. What do I know?
Okay.
Maybe there's some random online event that pops up, but yeah, that's a major race. So that's who's probably going to be at the major. The big swing, to summarize: Paravision are in, VP are out, Heroic are slipping, and Bait are in. And also, side note, Elige got locked in for Liquid's roster as well, which was the big question mark over Birch Cup.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the major chances. That's where we're at with that. Let's now move on to your small site retake, Quack.
Yes.
Something happened. It's in Stockholm or on the border. I'm not sure where exactly, but it was a bit of a mess.
Yes. It was a big mess. They couldn't show up to ESL Pro League because when they landed in Sweden, I assume at Arlanda Airport, Virtus Pro.
Oh, Virtus Pro, okay.
Yes, they were stopped at the border because they had valid visas for all players, including Toro, which I was a bit surprised by. Because when I heard that they were going to miss ESL Pro League, I was like, it's probably because Toro doesn't have a visa. He's the only guy who hasn't played anything internationally, I don't think, aside from in Serbia, which I think it doesn't need a visa. So, but that wasn't the case. They all had visas. But the thing is, their health insurance for 3 players, or their medical insurance, was not valid to be in Sweden, which is something that would usually stop you from getting a visa in the first place. But the border agents basically questioned it. They thought about it. They consulted. They decided that these 3 visas for these 3 players were invalid for Virtus Pro. They got new health insurance almost immediately, apparently, Virtus Pro, but at that point the decision had already been made and the visas had already been annulled. And that's why Virtus Pro are not at ESL Pro League. At extremely short notice, ENS forfeited their games in Birch and went over there. The same thing also happened to Gentlemates. That's why they're in ESL Pro League at this point. But that was Lynn Vision. We didn't have any details about why. They just said they couldn't field a complete roster. I assume that means visa issues. And that's why Gentlemates also packed up their stuff at Birch Cup and forfeited the games and left. So yeah, that was what's happened. And I wanted to address this in a small side retake because somebody told me that Virtus Pro had their. Well, I'll read out what I was told. I won't say by who. Apparently, VP got refused at the border for being Russians and VP being an org tied to Russia due to the drone attacks. I'm assuming this is about the drones which ended up floating into NATO airspace the other week. It's tense between geopolitically right now. And they said, I'm waiting for actual public info, but that's the thing for now. And the thing is that I was like, we had the public info a minute after this was even rumored because VP, they talked about it openly and they explained what the reasons was. So if you have heard a similar thing, the person you have heard that from is a biased Russian, dumb as fuck, or both, because that's not absolutely not true. The call, as far as I understand it, VP, they're getting into legal trouble with this. They've consulted with a lawyer and something. As far as I understand, the call to rip the visa up on account of an invalid medical insurance is a valid call of the border police to do. It has nothing to do with, geopolitics. It's just that's what would happen for a non-EU citizen traveling into Sweden with those implications. What usually would happen is the visa would get refused when they apply, and that hasn't happened here. Doesn't mean that you can't do it in post either, though. So that's what happened, and it's insane. It's an insane situation where Swedish border police basically decides to major race. But that's what's happened. So yeah, sucks to be Virtus Pro at the moment. But as a Virtus Pro hate watcher, we can rejoice that it's very likely because of this Virtus Pro won't be at the major.
Shout out the Swedish border police one time. Took them about a decade to start doing what they're supposed to do, but hey, we love it. Represent, stand up, get VP the fuck out of here. Full kudos. My God, why is there like 1 billion police cars outside?
Maybe Virtus Pro just landed outside.
Yeah, clearly they're looking for someone. It's not me.
We have to go to Epic Land.
Speaking of lands, let's get into Land 3. Another small event with a big sort of implication. We talked about it earlier, about the Paravision Bet Boom switch.
I have just thought of like Perfecto just on the street in London saying, "How do we get to Kettering?" Sorry, never mind. That's something else. Right,
but yes. Majestic Land 3, as it was called, ended with Paravision as champions, 3-2 winners over Bet Boom in a pretty cool final. Map 5, 13-3 blowout, but aside from that, a pretty good game back and forth. Paravision defeating Wi-Fi Password, aka X-Rush B, in the semi-finals. Bet Boom taking down 9 Boom Pro 2-0 in their semi. Pretty convincing. And also a good showing from Axile against his former team, or former teammates, I guess, for a few of them. But not enough. 2-zip and go straight home. It was an interesting event just in terms of the VRS implications, but the majority of the teams in attendance weren't particularly impressive. Spirit Academy, bottom out in their group, they've just been unimpressive, really. Namega, disappointing. They have been ever since, well, honestly, even when Zwei was still there, they were starting to struggle, but they've just gotten worse and worse. And then, Betera, Nuclear Tigres, not that interesting of a set of teams, but overall, the key matchup that we want to see, we got it where we wanted it, which is the grand final, and it delivered. Fantastic final between two really strong, really impressive Russian teams. Absolute banger, Kwake.
Mm-hmm.
You like this Paravision side, right? You like the rest of us.
Yeah, it's a cool side.
What do you think their chances are going forward of actually being that level of team, like tier 1 sort of major attendee? Do you think they have it in them?
Well, they're going to be in the major. I do think, and I think James was pretty open with it as well, where it's like these are young, inexperienced players who you're basically trying to develop. I think he was pretty open about it in an interview that obviously they're in danger of losing those players. If, you know, the teams ahead of them, Virtus Pro, for example, if VP, Spirit, maybe even some other teams, like we see Russian players making into the international teams as well. If they need a new player, they might look to Perivision. They might look to what the James School graduates exist at the moment, and that's Perivision. So for that, I think if they end up doing too well, they're just going to get picked apart. But as the team is, yeah, it's really solid. I feel like it's really like a James team is often gonna be solid. Obviously, he is a good caller in that sense, and most of his career honestly revolves around doing well with less experienced players. Like even you go back to Avantgarde, these days we sort of think of Kicker, Buster, and Sanji as, you know, experienced tier 1 support players, but when they made the major final in Berlin, they were like 18, 19 years old and kind of up and comers. Again, you have an outsiders as well. Flit, a bit of a tier 2 mainstay, but James turned him into a major champion. Fame as well was inexperienced there. Yekindar, when he came in, that was under James to begin with. Norbert as well, first step into tier 1 was under James. And now you might instead be talking about the same happening to Belchanok, AW, Cielo, and Nota, and that's exciting. That's really solid. Winning a LAN like this, I think Betboom was the only opposition who were gonna stand in the way of Perivision here. It was, to me, it felt like it was very much like a 1-2 Spirit Academy, everybody else. That's sort of how it felt. Maybe Nemiga could be there in the Spirit Academy tier, but it was very much a tiered thing where like Betboom Perivision was going to be the grand final. It had to be the grand final unless one of the two underperformed heavily. And the fact that they make that Betboom win is a little bit of an upset. It's a relatively even game, but it's a little bit of an upset. And that says yes to me. That says that yes, Perivision are a team we could start seeing in tier 1, assuming they get to stick together.
Okay. Yeah, there's always that growth potential. Because even if you look right now, you're like, okay, if I'm Perivision, realistically, what do I have? I have James calling and AWPing at a pretty high level. I have Cielo being outstanding. Like, Cielo's been really strong for them. Yep. Belchanok in his newer roles, because every time they add another rifler, he somehow gets less aggressive, because, you know, that was originally kind of what he was doing, finding openings. Now he's getting more and more into just being a hard closer. Belchanok's been good, though. Nota has been up and down. You know, we're happy with him. He's still got potential, but, you know, it's up and down. And then AW's just struggling to find his feet, you know, exactly what he's going to be good at on this roster. But he's kind of the support player, like the hardest support player on the team. You always have to bear in mind when you're looking at your team, you're like, we already got this. The oldest guy who isn't James is Belchanok at what, 22? You know, 21, 22? 21. All of these guys should get better. So this is a short-term huge success. They should be super excited about the fact they're probably going to the major. Then on top of that, this is only going to get better. And when you think about that in the next sort of year or so, Dastan, you know, he's done it before. Him and James as a duo have done it before. They seem to be doing it again here. I think this is a really exciting team, a really exciting core. Yeah, going to be one of my favorite teams to watch out for in the future. And we'll see if they decide to make moves at any point, you know, maybe get a bit of role sell up in here. Move on from AW, try and get someone else in there. But if he's adapting well to the roles, why bother?
Yeah. It's not really, you know. Yeah, it's very solid. It's very solid. And players are still malleable. If you're talking about role selling. There's changes you can make to the players as well who are already on the team. And as you say, they're only going to get better. One of those primary improvements is going to be raising that floor, being less inconsistent. And if that happens, then Perivision can very rapidly become very dangerous. So yeah, that's what's going to happen. Right now, the way it's looking, they're going to be in the major. Right now, it's looking like that's the case. And from there, who knows? They're going to get a lot of points just from being in the major. Not as much as some people might think, but they're going to get a lot of ranking off of that, which makes it not unlikely they keep playing in tier 1 events. Even then, we've already had them in the Star Ladder event. We've already had them in, smaller LAN events like this as well. I think I don't know what they have lined up. They don't have any other big ones lined up later, but for all we know, they could end up being in one of the events having a January invite date. We're talking about IEM Krakow, IEM Brazil, and Cluj-Napoca PGL. Chance to be there. A lot of stuff could happen. Let's just see what happens. But I see them moving upwards.
Okay, yeah, that brings us on to the recurring segment, the latest addition to the show. Not quite, but the only addition to the show with its own theme song, its own intro, its own whatever the hell you want to call it. It is time for Cock of the Week.
Right. Theme song? You should put that in notation.
It's got noise.
Today's cock is... I was undecided between two here. It's the coach of Wildcard. And it's not because of decisions made in roster changes. It's Vince. They were at Birch Cup in Gdansk. And he put out a tweet where, here and there, etc., we lost. He also had a lot of criticism for the event and how it was organized, related to the equipment they were on, related to the scheduling, related to what sort of times they played. They played very long match days because of the tech delays. There's one particular thing, because Messi also responded to this in a lengthy post and basically just said, you should have expected some issues by going to this event because it's a new TO who you knew haven't hosted basically any events, etc. This is a risk you take when you go to a small LAN. Like, this is not an RMR. This is not an event organized by a big organizer. It happens to be really impactful for the major race. But if you didn't want to deal with these things, you should have gone to a different event. That's basically the gist of what Messi also said. That's also the intent of the VRS system, is that Valve basically don't want to police good events versus bad events. They want the teams to do that by picking and choosing which ones they go to. And we've had that to a degree. We've had teams deciding not to go to PGL events, and as a result, PGL adjusts their price distribution. So instead of all of the prize money going to the players, it goes 50-50 players and teams, roughly. Anyway, the thing that he said, which I honestly just think I think Vince, generally speaking, is a smart guy. That's VINS, not the old caster, but VINS, the Polish coach. Generally speaking, I think he's a smart guy. I think he has smart takes. What he said here, I think is really dumb, really short-sighted, and kind of not egotistical, but it's kind of centered around his own situation. It's kind of narrow-minded in that way. Quote, I'm suggesting that if tournaments going out of control with tech issues and it's documented, teams should be allowed to leave the tournament, forfeit the matches without losing VRS points. Which is just think about that for 1 second. All right. So what he's saying is, if there are big tech issues, quote unquote, they are out of control with tech issues. You should be, and it's documented, he says. So basically, if people say that there are big issues, if there's proof of there being big issues, teams should be allowed to forfeit their games without losing VRS points. That is if you think about that for 5 seconds, that's so exploitable. That is so dumb. The fact that that's a serious take, like, again, I feel like Vince is generally speaking a pretty well-spoken guy. He has good takes. He seems like he's pretty clever. But that's so dumb. Because the ways you could get out of like any system, like any part of the VRS system, where you can take losses and not lose VRS points through like a decision you make, is going to be so exploitable always. So that's so dumb. And the fact that he just says if it's documented, so that's like, okay, if I complain, I can forfeit. That's like, or if enough people complain, we can forfeit this event. If you could be, the worst case scenario here is that, let's say, let me just check who lost the most out of Birch Cup in terms of VRS. I'm just gonna check that. if you take like the biggest losers out of Birch Cup, it's Gentlemates, wild card, and Foot. They basically gain nothing from being at Birch Cup. But their competitors did. Like their competitors gained a lot. Nine gained a lot. Big actually gained a decent amount. Johnny Speeds gained a lot. X Inner Circle gained maybe the most anyone has ever gained out of a LAN event. Basically, what could happen in such a scenario, if that was allowed, is Wildcard, Foot, and Gentlemates basically banded together, tweeted enough about supposed tech issues, and either got the event removed from VRS through some sort of force majeure there, or just decided to forfeit with 0 VRS loss because, like, in post, because they felt it was going bad. Like, you could play 2 games, be shit, gain nothing on the VRS, and know that, like, okay, from this point out, you know, we're gonna have to win the event to actually gain anything. Forfeit, lose no points. It's so insanely exploitable. Where that's like, it doesn't really stand. Like, you glance over, it doesn't seem like that outrageous of a thread. It seems very level-headed. It's such a dumb take, to be honest. Where Vince just at that point he just doesn't really know what he's talking about. Unfortunately.
No, at that point it's not that he doesn't know what he's talking about at that point. It's just that he's come out with an idea that seemed fine in his head, but that he never like critically assessed. Like he was just like, yeah, we should be allowed to forfeit these things when there's tech issues. Yeah, and then you're like, you didn't think about it. You just
no
agreed with yourself and put it out. Like no, you shouldn't be allowed to just forfeit events when there's tech issues. That's ridiculous. I realised we didn't actually change the lower third to reflect what segment we're on. Whoops, what terrible production. Fire the producer. But anyway, we're back to the real topic.
Yeah.
He's just not a good take. It's not like I'm going to start saying he wants to abuse this to cheat. Obviously, that'd be ridiculous. No. It's just he's not realised the door he's opened. You cannot give esports teams the chance to do that kind of thing because they will. And then you'll be like, how could this happen? Like, it just will happen. Like, as soon as you can do that kind of bullshit, you will. I mean, back in the day, you know, when you could accidentally trip on the power cable and get yourself a tech pause.
Yeah.
Teams did. So, you know, there's every kind of door you open to teams cheating, exploiting things. You expect someone to walk through. So stop opening doors. That's what I'm going to say.
Yes, stop opening doors. That's like... I think a better example, I feel like we had some pretty big losers at Landalan. Yeah, we did. Both Nemiga and Spirit Academy lost out quite heavily. You could just do that, like, oh, no, like, spam out a bunch of tweets from all 10 of those players and coaches and staff and just say, hey, or Telegram posts, I guess, in this case. I crashed 6 times during the last game. I was playing on, I was having horrible stutters all game. And just, like, you know, fake a tech pause and then forfeit the game if you realize you're about to lose the event. That is extremely silly. So I hope that never happens. Vince should have really thought about it before he posted that, because as much as it's a dumb take, posting, you know, these threads talking about these events, that's probably the feedback that's going to be the most prominently seen when addressing these events. So he should have thought more about that, because it actually might have an impact. But yeah, it's a shit take.
Yeah, dreadful take. Not the craziest cock of the week, but certainly an L take. We're actually going to this week. You might not want to hear this, Quack. We're skipping the retake games because we're almost 2 hours in, and I need to. We started late.
Can I tell you who I had picked for hot or cold? Because I thought it was a decent pick.
If you want.
I had Nivera. I thought that was a good pick this week.
That'd have been a disaster. I'd have said, like, I don't know, Francophone, and then you'd be like, I haven't heard him speak French in 7 years, so that's a 12.
You would not have said Francophone. You would never.
It's an example, Quack. It's an example. But anyway, on to the Eternal Shuffle. The eternally recurring segment that will never end. We will always have more shuffling happening. Quack, what's happened this week?
Yes, a lot of things have happened. First of all, it's official. Liquid have signed Elish. So, who would have ever thought that Elish was going to play for Liquid, right?
That's so weird, out of nowhere. And no one expected this to happen. So yeah, in effect, the swap has been completed.
Yep.
Even if we are still waiting on the twists phase end of the problem to be solved, like who he's actually replacing. But yes, Liquid have Elish now. Great. I don't like the move, like overall. Like I'm like Liquid needed a different change than this. Like cutting twists when he's not cutting, but losing twists when he's playing some of his best CS ever to FaZe. I'm sorry, I don't care how good you think Elige might be or could be. It's just not going to be better than what you were doing by itself. More needs to change, more needs to happen. And Elige in that sense, yeah, I mean, I've complained a bit about the roles. I'm like, I no longer have like a natural pack player in Twist in terms of that's what he does best. Elige kind of has to now return to that kind of play in a way. Like he has to force himself into those roles. I don't know. I'm not too sold on it. We'll see how it goes, but hey, you lost Twist playing Prime CS and signed Elige. Could have been a lot worse. B-.
Yep, fine. Rumored, Twist is going to replace Rain.
He's replacing a map. Oh my god.
Riz is going to replace Train. No, that's been everybody's guessed that was a move which was going to happen, but we have now had these Prac.com leakers who have spotted Twists in the Prac server instead of Rain, and that's usually it's a 90% certain thing. I think we'll hear it in the week.
So I've hypothesized, I've speculated that they were going to replace Rain, and the reason we haven't heard anything is because they're trying to do the send-off right. They're trying to figure out the best way to do the goodbye Rain. They're putting a lot of effort, I'm assuming, into the goodbye video, all that stuff. They want to do it properly. They don't want to just be like, all right, bye Rain, here's a graphic made by a graphic designer on Twitter. There you go. Have fun. No, they want to do it properly, and I think that's likely what's happening here. Do I think it's the best move? Yes. I also think it's the best move. Because if you're going to give me two pretty, similarly rated riflers and tell me I've got to keep one, I'll just keep the one who's younger. And I get it. Rain's got experience. Rain's had some magnificent big stage moments, some magnificent major moments. He's been awesome in certain huge matches. Overall, his level's just not been there over the last couple years. He's been very inconsistent. This year was no exception. This is the right move. This sort of rebalances the team a bit as well, because we now have Jacob playing as the true aggressor, Twists the true trader. This can work really well. This is going to be a pretty awesome roster. They keep Frozen, quite importantly, so they remain relevant in terms of at least even top 4 talks. Like, you have Twist and Frozen now. You have Jacob finding his feet, Brokey coming back. Maybe he can play okay. He doesn't even need to be a superstar Brokey. He needs to be a good version of Brokey that we've seen in the past. And this team's in that sort of realistic realm, making top 4s at events, potentially even having that kind of fluky run where the major bracket lines up the right way and you can get yourself all the way to the grand final. That kind of thing can happen. It's very exciting for FaZe. So yeah, that's the right move. A+.
Yep. Do you? So you do think this is a great move then? Is the TLDR? Because I have seen some people question it's a bit of a. They're going back in a way. They're going backwards. Where I've seen some people, I can't remember who. I'm trying to find who. Think that it's a disappointing move in some way. Where it's a move that they don't think is going to move FaZe forward.
Are those people blind or simply?
It's not me. But yeah,
I'm not saying it is you. I'm saying those people are either blind or criminally insane. Have you watched FaZe? Have you seen Rain? And also, have you watched Liquid? And have you seen Twists? We're just talking 1-for-1, a massive upgrade. We're talking about, fixing a role clash that was apparent from the moment Elige joined. That Rain wasn't super comfortable playing some of the roles he had to move into. Elige was also kind of not quite ever fully playing the way he wanted to play. Especially if you compared him to Complexity Elige. He wasn't as set up in the same way. He wasn't able to be the same kind of rifler. This kind of addresses that, because Twist is more naturally a role rifler. He does more naturally fit into not necessarily the primary aggressor, the primary player you set up to go take duels. He's a great trader. He's a great player off the shoulder. He can be as a part of your aggressive map control maneuver on the CT side, but he doesn't have to be. He can be really good in a more static position as well. There's what part of this is regressive if you're FaZe? You'd have to be literally insane to think that.
Right. Let's move on. Official Inner Circle have signed TNL. So
what?
That's the.
Yeah, I mean, we're catching up with the news that everyone's been quite on top of. We've been watching Inner Circle at ESL Pro League. We still are, a lot of us. Yeah, I'm pretty excited for this team. I knew they'd get picked up by someone eventually. I knew they
Yeah.
would. And
It almost took too long.
almost. So yeah, Inner Circle now have themselves a team that are pretty exciting, pretty young. Could do with a move, like you could argue. You know, if you were trying to be a hater, you could be like, oh, there's places to improve this team. And I get that. I also think, you know, you can, especially as a Ukrainian side, you could do better than Fleerax on the AWP. I do think that's not unrealistic. He's not the greatest, like, playmaking type of AWPer. He could be more impactful in that sense, but look at the rifling on this team. Like, Davu, Can, Knifey, really strong. Onyx, a young up-and-coming caller, an incredibly valuable asset, especially in the future. If you're an org, you're like, oh, I need to make a buck. You tell me you have a 22-year-old, or he's currently like 20 or 21, but at the point they might sell him, he's like 22-year-old IGL, rising star in the scene in that role. You're going to get a big payout for him. So no, this is a great move for Inner Circle. I'm not sure where they keep pulling the money from, as we've said earlier, like where the fuck's all this cash coming from, but hey, it's working.
The fact it took this long for TNL to get picked up, and also that they didn't sell a core, like they didn't even, you know, get rid of their players. Like there must have been big offers, especially as they climbed, you know, as they climbed up the ranking as well. I'm assuming they must have had offers and just kept saying no, but then this Inner Circle roster offer was apparently good enough to accept. So I imagine there must be some money behind Inner Circle, like.
There has to be. They signed an entire roster at once for like the second time this year.
Yeah. And sure, TNL might not have massive fucking contracts on them in the first place, but big enough, you know, where they could afford to say no to other teams. There's no way this was the only offer, is what I mean. So like, yeah, whatever. Good move. Skin Rave. I feel like we have to talk about them because they are genuinely quite prominent in the major race, but they have last week they somewhat not controversially, but they replaced Klasia 1 or 2 weeks ago because of his conduct, because of his behavior in the team, is what they said, the official reason. And they've signed Marky, and Marky is the move we're grading here. Marky is in. I feel like maybe we had this last week as well, but
I don't remember it last week. It was
Marky's moved so much. He obviously, you know, we talked about.
He was on Getting Info before this. He was on Getting Info all year, basically. But look, I'm not a Marky hater. I don't think if you're going to be the number one in a team, you want Marky on your team. But this is fine for them. Like the main focus for me on this team is Laxi. Like make Laxi the star of the focus, set him up right, and he can probably carry you through some games. So no, I mean it's a fine move. I don't have a problem with it. No, just nothing crazy.
Nothing crazy. I think Philadelphia is do or die for them to make the major. I could see them doing it.
Seems like it, yeah.
Philadelphia is an event where absolutely Junior, Marky, Wolko, and Laxi can all kind of go nuts. So if they do that, then yeah, go ahead. And at that point, Marky gets his first major ever. But so yeah, like Krasi says, Marky is one supposed to be him, and he hasn't been, but it's not too late, maybe. Now we're getting to the real meat of the episode, the real tier 2 shuffles. Cybershock have cut Lovicus again, and they've added Alpha. Maybe as a caller? No, Glowing's probably calling. Whatever. They have Alpha now anyway. What do you think?
This is a strange little move. It's not nothing. Like Alpha's shown some potential. It's Cybershock, you know, the talent's never really excited me. I'm not that sold on the roster itself. It's just I don't think it's a terrible idea to try Alpha as an IGL. It's just I struggle to believe in this team, so I'm not sure what kind of impact he'll have.
Yep. That's about it. Not worth talking about much more. Gaimin Gladiators are back in the CS, somewhat controversially. They are very controversial. They do not pay their salaries, and that's why they exited in the first place. But they now have a team, which actually, you know, this is notable. Even if you don't know who XW7M are, you definitely know their players. Nekis, Shiz, Bartin, Jota, and BSD, coached by Horvey. What do you think about that?
I guess they won't accrue as big of a sort of debt when they're paying in reals compared to dollars. So when they eventually don't pay this team and don't go anywhere, it won't be as big a deal for them. So yeah, no, this isn't a very interesting team to me. They are probably like what they've had a good Fergie rush so far in terms of this LAN event, but prior to that, they've not exactly been one of the top Brazilian teams. Just kind of in the mix, like a Fluxo level for the most part, but that's just not that crazy. The one standout is that Fergie rush, they've been surprisingly good. Like they made playoffs over 9Z, which is an incredible run for them. But again, that's an incredible run for them. That's pretty much the problem. They're not that big of a threat to the international scene.
It's good players. Nekis is obviously a bit of a mainstay, and I think he's pretty good. A lot of people speak quite highly of him. Not as like a crazy aimer, but overall as a well-rounded player. Jota, I think, has shown promise before. People have been excited about Jota. Shiz and Barton have obviously been around for a while as well. I could see them doing something if there is money in Gaimin Gladiator's bank accounts at this point. Then maybe there's something to do there. Gen 1 have rebuilt with NBK, Misuta, and Joko.
Yeah. Weird. It's the weird thing where you're like, this is like the best Gen 1 team I've ever seen. It's also kind of whack.
Yeah.
And bad, so I don't know.
Yeah. They did also add Wasink as the coach at the same time.
Wasink.
So yeah, it's Gen 1 are always weird. I don't think Gen 1 are ever really targeting being all that good. A bit of it is just sort of KRL wanting to do something, I suppose. But it is also kind of strange because I feel like Gen 1 usually try to be a little bit of an academy, but at this point they have 23-year-olds and old guys with experience. So maybe this is them actually trying to be a good, decent team. If you're being honest, can you not see Joko, Misuta, NBK breaking into top 40 in the world?
Top 40?
Yeah, because that's enough where you're gonna start showing up at That's enough where you're gonna start talking about maybe winning a CCT event. That's enough where you're gonna start talking about maybe ending up at upper placings at these smaller lands, maybe ending up in like a Blast Bounty or something.
Like, yeah, they could. Like, look, I'm going to explain exactly why Orcs have faith in Misuta, person whose name I can never figure out how to pronounce. It's because he can aim a bit, and if you set him up to go hit shots, he quite often does. He's not a terrible player. That's why people keep doing this, and that's why I think this team maybe they can hit top 40 in the world, maybe. But I'm just not. I'd have to be expecting them to do it with seriousness, like to actually be there and be a team that's fought in the top 40 of the world. I expect more out of Chucky and Brooksy than I currently do. So I'm just not that moved by this roster. Like, I love the idea. I think it's a valiant attempt, rather, to resuscitate MBK like as a pro. I put him in this team. He's like the experience. He's the IGL. There's some talents, some younger French people around him, or French speakers at least. But swap Brooksy and Chucky with Netu Nevera, maybe I'd be willing to be more hyped.
Yep.
In general, but for what it is, yeah. Not that bothered.
Yeah. No, and like the reason why I say top 40 is that their Gen 1's peak ever is 66 on HLTV, 93 on VRS. And that HLTV peak was 3 years ago. It's
it's generally not very good. Yeah.
I think if they end up being a top 40, which is, I think it's realistic. Misuta, I think, wasn't horrible on foot, and Joko obviously sort of held his own on 3D Max for a while. NBK speaks for himself. So for that, I feel like, that's a realistic target for this team. If they make it there, I think it's money well spent. And from there, who knows? Because then I'm assuming there are French kids out there, or are there French kids? Are there people under the age of 18 in France?
Are there people over the age of what?
Under the age of 18 in France.
In general, yeah, there are under.
Do some of them play Counter-Strike?
No, they play like Rocket League and shit. Like Rocket League is aggressively French. Like when you play, it's a lot of French people.
Yeah. Otherwise, what I thought is like, NBK, Misuta, Joko, Wasink, solid core. Eventually, you phase out Brooksy and Chucky, and you can start talking about Gen 1.
When can I
doing
phase out
something.
fucking
But yeah.
Joko too? Like, I don't want Joko.
Later, even later than that, when you have the next gravity, then yeah,
Yeah, anyway.
low bar.
The next gravity, Jesus.
That's where your country is at.
Yeah,
I feel like for the first time in a long while, my country is beating your country in this podcast. That's nice. Right.
Yeah, it's just because Vitality aren't playing. Like, take the dub.
Yeah.
Take the dub.
Yeah, I do. Absolutely. Right. What the fuck is Kyojin playing? Anyway, never mind. Partizan. Oh,
God.
The football club. They have cut Collins, and they've added a child on trial. Actually, I don't know how old he is. I just know he doesn't have an HLTV profile, so I'm assuming he's a child.
He is
a
16.
child. Okay,
I saw this pop up. This is weird, but I guess Collins never was that great overall. So, okay. I like the attempt. I like the idea. Give him a plus for that. But yeah, we're talking about Partizan at this point. I'm struggling to keep my enthusiasm high.
Partizan aren't the worst. Partizan aren't the worst team. They've been up there competing for like CCT titles earlier this year. They have Vladen, who, like, Vladen's good. Like, there's, I think even with Aid Kit, who they have on as well. Aid Kit, I think, is a decent little player. There's a floor to Dragon and Kindo as well, which isn't horrible. There's stuff Partizan can do. Not sure if this Nopsy kid is it, but yeah, I'm happy they keep making changes. Yeah, speaking of teams we do not care about, Algo have signed yet another shit-ranked VRS corp to keep their team alive after kicking, after their polygraph test. They've signed Scrob, Dengzu, and Anber to make, like, they've made what I think is a sin in Counter-Strike team building. They've made a 4+1 team with Danish players. There has never been a Danish team, like 4 Danish players and a non-Danish player, which has been good, unless they were Swedish or Norwegian. In that case, that has happened. But like, we're at this point, we're in Mad Lions territory. We are in North with Mixwell territory. Like, this is where we are. To be fair, I think that North team won an event, but yeah, yeah, they have Nukie, Scrob, Griller, Dengzu, and Anber. That's awesome. Shara is coaching.
Mid as hell is the problem. Like, this is just unthrilling. This does not sparkle. This does not.
It doesn't spark joy.
It does not.
Yeah. When considering what things to keep in your life, scroll through the HLTV ranking and ask yourself, does this spark joy?
And then you see this team and you go, fuck no.
Yeah, exactly. If you give up. Try again. Eternal Fire have signed one of their previous academy players to replace another of their previous academy players. They are now Calix, Emor, Binox, Masked, and Rime.
Okay. Who do they drop?
Yeah.
Jerezi. Oh, it's a shame. Waste of time, really.
Yeah.
This is... Yeah, I don't know who this Rhyme guy is, really.
He was for a brief time at the end of Eternal Fire Academy before they sold that team to Bushido Wildcats. He was on there. So then he played on Bushido Wildcats. And he did fine. 109 in 30 maps. And now he's back.
Okay.
Bushido Wildcats coach, his literal nickname is Coach IRL. What the fuck is that?
This is such a whack team. I just can't.
Dude,
just can't.
Your nickname in the on Counter-Strike is Coach IRL. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just not seeing much for this team. Like, I liked the idea of them having like the young academy players playing like Calix and Nimor, trying to make it work. And they did that whole thing where they stole that Polish trio's VRS ranking just to drop one. I just don't care for this team, and I don't like them.
Yeah, I think you've talked about Jerezi briefly before. That's why I put it in.
Yeah, he's like, when they were Eternal Fire as that sort of group, you know, when they had the Academy kids in, Jersey was one of the ones who had better numbers, and I was like, oh, maybe there's something to keep an eye out here. Like, hopefully they can stick together, give these guys a chance. Instead, this is happening, so I don't like them.
Yep. That's it. The shuffle, the Eternal Shuffle, is no longer eternal because it has ended. And it will be back next week.
It's always there. It's always there. But yeah, all right. That brings us to the final segment of the show. Everyone weeps and mourns. But this is it, the final segment of the show, starting half an hour earlier than it usually does, because it's only 2 hours and 15 minutes into the show. Prospects of the week. I'm going to go with mine first, because it's a nice and easy W to take. My prospect of the week, we've been talking about him all day, talking about him all week. Hopefully we'll be talking about him in the future. I've taken JBOEN, big JBOEN, makes the JBOENers rise up. He's been really fun to watch as an AWPer. Solid on pistols, got a decent rifle on him too. Assertive, confident, not stupid. Everything you want from an AWPer. 20 years old, on the rise. Let's keep it up.
Yeah, solid. There's a reason we've been talking about him all episode. I think he should go to 9 as soon as possible. I changed mine. When I made the show notes, I had Xielo, who I will just shout out, had an excellent event. Probably the main reason why Paravision won that event. But I have actually changed, and I've picked somebody who didn't show up on my stats sheet before when I was making the thing. But then I remembered I watched this guy myself. Svedjehed. Or as you would say, Svedjehed.
Svedjehed.
His Birch Cup. Svedjehed. His Birch Cup wasn't all that hot on average, because holy shit, he bottomed out against 9. He drops a 0.52 in a triple overtime map. And I'll just start off by saying that's pretty bad. But in those first 4 maps where they played really impressive, like Johnny Speeds played really impressive in those first 4, the 4 best of ones they played to make playoffs, which is, you know, a format issue. But hey, they play Kono Partisan, and they destroy them both 13-3. They play ENS, they destroy them on Nuke 13-5. And then they play ESC, and it's an overtime win at 16-14. And Svedjehed was great in those maps. If you remove the 9 series, he's a 130 plus in those first 4 maps. Those 2 maps weigh him down that much to a 1.0. But that ENS series as well, he had some pretty crazy plays there, and he basically ends up being the MVP of that ENS win, which is easily the biggest cap at this event. It's one of the better wins Johnny Speeds have had with this roster. The past couple of weeks for Johnny Speeds have been so bad, where they went winless for like 10 games before they beat Senza, and then they kept losing again. It was pretty bad. To recover from that, beating ENS, even if it's just a map, you still do it on Nuke. It's it's a technical map. It's one where I also expect ENS to be pretty good. To do that is really good. Svedjehed led that charge. He had an amazing ace clutch as well, which was crazy to see. And that's why I'm picking him. And look, he's sort of a comeback kid as well, because he, like 4 or 5 years ago when he was on Little Mix, he looked so good on that team. And he, at one point, he was being talked about as like, you know, this was before the time of Nilo, Adam B. Like even LNZ and ZTR were like, we already knew that these guys are going to be support players or IGLs. Svedjehed was at one point probably the guy people talked about as like, this guy's probably one of the next guys in Sweden. And then, you know, he kind of dropped off after Lil Mix. I've talked about this before, but I'll just recap. He was an Eyeballers, he didn't do much. He was an AGO, he didn't do much. And then he bounced around Copenhagen Wolves, ESC for a brief bit when they had a weird European mix roster. Now he's in Johnny Speeds. Also, that a weird move. He replaces Rolf. Rolf was fine. Rolf has done fine after that on Eyeballers. And he's basically taking over his support positions. But somebody has to be the next heap. And I think it's Svedjehed who's going to end up being the next heap.
That's the endorsement you go with to end your fucking segment about your prospect of the week? Jesus.
Heap is great. Heap is great. But no, but like, if Svedjehed had had a better trajectory, if he'd had more constant trajectory, I think he could have been up there on a Metasport, and he could have played quite well on a Metasport. He could have been somebody we talked about, like upper tier 2, solidly there, maybe even edging into tier 1. He's not quite there because there was that big dip, but I'm thinking he is kind of back. He is kind of back in tier 2, and that's where we sit best. And when I say the next Heap, like Heap is somebody who I think can absolutely compete at 40, around the 30-40 mark pretty consistently. He's always just had trouble going above that. And there's no shame in being the 40th best team in the world, you know?
Okay. Right.
I didn't plan this at all. This was I like what
could have come
I like
in
what I
here
saw
with
at that
a very comfortable, very easy pick. He could have picked Yellow, talked about the literal MVP of a LAN. Instead, he talked about a 1.0 rated player on a team that cheese BO1s to a top 8 finish. Yeah.
Yeah.
A fascinating choice as always. As I said at the start of the show, you see that yellow and blue and just something takes over you. You just can't hold yourself.
I'm assuming B-Tramps is watching the VOD. If you have some time and you want a good laugh, you can go through all the episodes and see, like, chart our prospect picks by nationality, and one of us is very biased.
Yes, you also 99% Swedes. Yes, that's the show. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, we'll see you next week. Probably with a lot more ESL Pro League to recap, but still it won't have finished by then. So, yeah, playing to retake. If you liked it, if you've got any sort of thoughts on any of our takes, leave a comment. Yeah, thank you all for tuning in live. Yeah, and if you're watching on the VOD, you made it this deep, you're our heroes. Tell us exactly why you believe that the Svedjehead is actually going to be the best player to ever come out of Sweden. And yeah, we'll see you next time.